What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to the Panels on Pages podcast. My name is Dalibor Zujovic. I am your indie hype man, and with me today is rising hip hop sensation, Young Zachary. How you doing?
I'm good. I'm good. I like the way you introduced that. I appreciate that.
That's I thought it was funny, man. The first time I forget what it was, it might have been your Facebook or whatever, but when I saw your name on Facebook, I saw your name is last name first, and I was like, Young Zachary. I'm like, is that like a hip hop thing? Like, what is that about? Because
Yeah,
that's everybody's a young something, so like
yeah. I didn't even know it came up like that. I don't know if that's the way Facebook does it, like last name first, or if that's just the way I just put it in. But yeah, it's funny that you saw it that way.
I just, you know what? But that got us into a cool conversation when you were on here last time with your buddy about Deep Theory Studios,
Yeah,
and that was a
yeah.
great time had by all. Which a new issue of that is on its way.
Yep. Should be coming in. Well, we're working on it slowly but surely, but it should be this maybe in the next few months we're gonna try and launch the Kickstarter. So we'll see what happens with that.
Sounds fantastic. But today we are here to talk about a new venture, a new idea you had, because that's how we do, right? With creators, we make up new stuff all the time. And
Yep.
you had this idea for a brand called Green Pizza Comics. First, take me through that. What is
Yeah.
Green Pizza Comics? What's that about?
Oh, that's so funny. It's just funny because I've never heard anybody say it before because it's so brand new, you know?
Right.
Um, but it's just kind of a placeholder name that I randomly came up with. I used to doodle a lot, and then so I have this thing in the corner of my computer screen right now that has Green Pizza Studios. But then, I wanted to make the comic, and then so Green Pizza Comics, that's kind of how it came to be. And I wanted to make this comic book series like something, relatable, something like easygoing, but not the opposite of Deep Theory. Deep Theory is like all about the mysterious and just like super deep diving into the cosmos, whatever. But it's very serious. And then this comic book series is more, lighthearted, something that we can all relate to, something that we go through. It's basically about navigating through your 30s, adulting, and the stuff, just growing up and learning all this new stuff and how to be an adult. So,
For sure, man. For sure. Well, welcome to that era. I'm on my way out of that era. I'm pushing into the
oh,
40s
sweet,
this
right
year.
on.
So I'm turning 40 this year. And yeah, the 30s is an interesting time for sure. You hit a lot of milestones, a lot of things change. It's I'll be honest with you, the first time when I turned 30, it wasn't a big deal to me, right? It was like just regular birthday or whatever, moved on with my life.
Yeah,
6 months or so later, somebody asked me, "Oh, how old are you?" And I was like, like the first time I said it, it like hurt. It like physically,
yeah,
I like lost my breath. I was like, "Oh, I'm 30."
yeah.
Oh, that like just
Oh my
like it caught
gosh.
up with me. Like it all caught up with me.
Yeah.
Like I was
Oh
18
man,
right up until that point.
that's how it feels, though. Yeah. I mean, like you kind of like when someone asks you how old you are, you're just like, oh crap, I'm already 34. It hits you.
And as many a media property has said it, so I'm quoting somebody. I don't remember who it was, but you only get one at bat, right? You only get one at bat.
Yeah.
You only get one go around on this race. So
Yep.
you got to do
Exactly.
everything. You got to do everything. You got to do everything you want to do because the fuck's the point? Otherwise, like
Yeah.
like
Exactly.
what's the fucking point? Like if you're,
Yeah.
I don't understand the idea of working until you die. Like
Yeah.
I
Yeah. Oh man, I'm on the same boat as you. Yeah,
like
because yeah, I mean, I've been thinking about that recently too. Just like how I mean, we only live. We're only at 34 for one time. We're only at 30 for one time. So you might as well. And if you think about it, there's like we put so much pressure on ourselves. I mean, that's basically just society in the back of our heads, telling us what to do. But when we really just come out of that nutshell and we start just realizing out of the matrix, right? Then we start realizing like, man, nothing really matters, dude. You could do anything you want, basically.
you really
I
can. I mean,
mean,
like I think
yeah,
within reason, within
yeah, within reason,
legalities and
exactly. Yeah, yeah,
but like in reality, like you said, you can do anything you want, and it's something that I think is really lost because a lot of people like sell that but they sell it in terms of like you can do anything you want in like in the way of like making money. Or like
Yeah.
you can make like you could do whatever job you want, but it's like it's deeper than that because I had like a straight up epiphany. I never thought I was actually gonna have an epiphany. I thought that was like some movie bullshit. It was just something that I never really thought about. And then I brought this up last podcast. Like I tell this story a lot, so I like feel like the people who are listening, the ongoing people
Don't
are
know.
are
Yeah.
like fucking we know what you're about to say. For the new people, I finished my novella here, my novella last year, early last year,
Oh,
about a year
nice.
ago
Yeah.
now. And no, I'm sorry. I finished it in the magazine 2 years ago. Geez, it's been a while. Editing has taken a long fucking time. Let me tell you about editing.
Oh
We'll get
yeah,
to that in a
that's
minute.
another story.
But like I finished this book, like I finished the final chapter, was about to put out the magazine, but then I sat back and I was like, wow, it's done. Like when I put it all together, in like one file, the whole story, I was like,
Yeah.
it's out. Like I just like felt a little lighter. I was like, oh, there's all this room, and now all these other ideas can kind of expand and build out. And I was like,
Yeah.
oh shit. And then it really hit me because up till that point, I was really fighting with myself. Like I was like, the job I had, I really didn't like for like 7 years. I really didn't like the job, and I'd gotten fired. I mean, it comes across when you
Oh
don't like your
wow.
job, it's gonna come across, right? So I got
Yeah.
fired, and then I was on unemployment, but I was kind of like trying to find another job, trying to find something decent. And then it finally like because I was trying to find like hit this criteria, and then I was like, I'm just gonna do my own thing. I'm gonna start my own computer repair business because that's like the thing I can
Oh,
do,
that's cool.
like blind, like I can do it easy, right? It's like the easy
Yeah.
thing to
Yeah.
do. And I was like, I'm just gonna do that. But then like I never got it going, right? I like created a website, but then I was like
Yeah.
never like actually dove into that.
Yeah.
And then when I put that book together and I sat down, I was like, holy shit, like, I can tell the stories that I want to tell
Yeah.
and just do some fucking bullshit job and pay the bills and still tell the stories I want to tell. Like this doesn't have
Exactly.
to be like I can like the job is the second thing.
Yes.
Like somebody,
Exactly.
I was at a thing the other day. I forget what it was. Somebody's like, "Oh, what do you do?" I was like, "Oh, like, I do some customer service shit, but I'm a writer." Like, like
Yeah. Yeah.
that was dope. Like, because
Oh yeah.
that's the main thing. Doing the
Hmm.
thing you want to do, regardless of job shit. Like, yeah, you got to pay bills, whatever, whatever. But
Yeah.
that's the side hustle, right? You pay
It
the bills
is.
as a side gig. Like,
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's exactly true. And like we're just working a full-time job and really understanding that that's not your career, and like like taking that focus off that and bringing it to all the creative stuff that you want to do, then you start to just build on that and you let your full-time job, fund it on the side, or you can, you just use your full-time job to pay your bills. But basically, yeah, you just come home, and that's what gets me up in the morning and like excited about the next thing is that I like, oh, cool, I get to go to work, but that helps fund my creative projects. And I'm glad to not call my creative projects a job, and it
right.
is very important because once you call it a job, then it becomes not fun anymore. So,
Yeah,
yeah,
that's something that I definitely see people kind of get lost in. It's like
yeah,
it's about making like they gotta make a certain amount of sales to like make rent and pay the bills and all
yeah,
this stuff. And it's like at some point that's gonna get like unless you crack that ceiling, right? That like you got to sell X amount of copies for you to make rent or make whatever. Until you
mhm,
crack that ceiling, whether it's through a movie deal or something where you get a big enough chunk where you're like backstopped, right? Where
yeah,
you can pay the bills without having to crank out stories or art pieces or whatever, without having
yeah,
to crank until you crack that ceiling. If you are really pushing as like your creative stuff is your main thing,
yeah,
it's gonna suck a lot of the time.
yeah,
Because like
yeah,
I'll be honest with you, like I built websites for a long, long time, and I can't think of something I would want to do less
mm,
as a job because it's
wow,
like the like back and forths, and it's like I had a whole job. Oh, this was years ago, and I brought the final design to the customer. Boom, boom. Here's the layout. Boom, boom. They're like, something's missing. And I was like, do you not like the color? Do you want like different
yeah,
buttons? Like, what do you want? I don't know. The color's fine, right? I for like 2 hours sat there trying to figure everything out. I'm like taking as many notes as I could take. I'm sitting there and I was like, they didn't give me anything, right? They didn't give me anything to work with. So I'm sitting there, I'm
Yeah.
staring at the design. I'm like, the design is good. It's solid. Like it represents the company brand. And I just brought in a friend. I'm like, hey, look at this. Tell me what doesn't feel right. And she's like, why don't you just change the color? And I was like, well, she said the color was fine. So I was like, she's like, change the color. I was like, all right, I'll change the color. One change. Loved it.
Oh wow.
So like hours upon hours spent just trying to figure out this one
Oh
single
my
thing. It's the same
gosh.
reason I couldn't do code, man. I love code like as a fun thing, like it's a genuine hobby because I've had a couple times in my life where I've sat down, especially with friends, and it's like we're trying to figure out why a specific code won't work, and we spend hours, digging through it, and it's fun as hell. We're trying to figure out all the stuff that's not lined up right, but it's like at
Yeah.
the end of it, like that was dope, but it was like it wasn't my project, right? I could walk
Yeah.
away from that, and then I sit back and I'm like, oh shit, that was 5 hours. I'm like, I wouldn't want to do this shit every day. I'd lose my mind every day over that. Like,
Yeah.
so
That's
like
yeah, that's why they stay projects or they stay like work, you know.
it's got to be separate. It's got to be separate. Like
Yeah.
when
Yeah.
I want to do stuff for fun, I like making websites. When I want to make stuff for myself, for friends,
Yeah.
I enjoy the process.
Yeah.
When it's like, hey, I gotta like cash a check for this.
Yeah.
I'm like,
Because yeah, like when money is involved, like it changes things because people start like trying to milk you, you know. It's just like what?
that's that's the other thing, right?
Yeah.
It's a lot of creatives have talked about this, but it's like the ultimate of how many revisions does something get? I've done
Yeah.
logos where it's been 7, 8, 9, 10, 15 revisions. Well, we
Yeah.
didn't talk about that ahead of time. I didn't think it was going to be an issue. So it was like,
Yeah.
I've spent 3 weeks on a logo. Like
Yeah. Because
it's
you think the other person's gonna actually, treat you like a human being, but they don't. So yeah.
unfortunately a lot of the times, a lot of people are
Yeah.
out for themselves. It's not always. You're gonna get the occasional person that's like, hey, take your time, whatever, whatever. And that's great.
Yeah.
Like those are going to be great experiences, but those are always going to be exceptions to the rule. Most people
Yeah.
have time limits. Most people have budgets, and they're going to try to
Exactly.
get the most value for that budget that they can get.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of budgets,
Unfortunately.
watch
Yeah.
this. Watch this hard pivot here. Watch this is a juke. This is
Oh,
kind of
yeah.
this is a hard pivot. $0 cost for your comic. Tell me about that. Why go for free comics? Don't get me wrong. I'm a big fan of free comics. I
Oh, cool.
free indie
Um,
mag, but like, why do free for the comic book? Which we haven't brought it up. It's called Sex Life Zero, Sex Life colon
yeah.
zero. I have so many questions, dude. I read everything you have up.
Oh,
I
right
got I
on.
got I got the sneak link. I got the sneak link.
Oh,
Nobody else
yeah.
has access to these, so I read everything you
Sweet.
have up. So many questions, but let's just start with
Yeah.
title and why free.
So like first, I wanted to make them free just because like I wanted to share the experience and like of reading a comic, but also like build a following at the same time. So if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. But like I wanted to put it out there so that people can read it because in my experience, when I like see a comic or something, and then I have to pay for it. This is just in my experience. Like I'm not sure, sometimes like I'm not sure if I want to actually go all in and pay for that comic, even though it's only 2.99, right? But I
Yeah,
still
yeah,
have my own budget, my own bills to pay. So
exactly.
that's why it constantly runs through my head where I'm like, oh, is this worth it? So I just want to give it out so that people that way people can read it and they don't have to worry about, like, oh, I don't have to, subscribe to this guy or I can just come back and read something when I want to. So that's what I like wanted to do for others, but it's just also at the same time like I want to share my stories and the short stories I was writing, even though so I started writing short stories because I wanted to get better and I still want to get better at writing in general. But like nobody was reading my short stories and I wanted people to actually read them and give me feedback and let me know
Right.
like what they think because there's some like funny stuff in there I think uh and like I just want to
It's
hear about it,
hilarious. It's fucking
yeah.
hilarious. I first let me ask you the first question here.
Yeah.
Is it all a fucking dream?
Oh no, no.
Because I am legit like the random crazy coincidence is
Oh
off
yeah.
the charts.
Oh
And
yeah,
because like I legit thought it was gonna be like turn the page and he's dreaming when the mom was in the car.
yeah.
Like, how do you not notice a person in the back seat? But it's like, all right, cool. I've
Yeah.
forgotten that I have stuff in the back seat, so like I don't look back there all the time. So I'm like, I could see that. But then she whips out a fucking cake, like a whole
Yeah.
ass sheet cake, and I was like, this dude's out his mind. He's high. It's gonna. Well, I'm gonna turn the
Yeah.
page. He's gonna be on a couch, sprawled out, blitzed out of his mind.
It's
But
gonna be something. Yeah,
yeah,
that's what you
something.
expect, right? Yeah.
But nah, it just keeps getting crazier.
Yeah. I wanted to do that because it's just like you have to suspend your disbelief to actually be in the story. And this is like his view of, the world around him and like the stuff that's happening to him. So yeah, his mom pops up in the back seat, and she has an orchid, and then all of a sudden she has a huge cake. But it's like at the same time, that's just the way moms are,
Right.
like, well, like just moms in America in general are kind of like that, just like, oh, here you go. Do you want this? Do you want that? Or my mom randomly does that, because moms just like treat you still, no matter what age you are, they still treat you like you're like 5 years old.
You're
So
not wrong. You're not wrong. You're
yeah,
not wrong. I
they want to
experienced
feed
that.
you and
Hmm.
whatever.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I, dude, the like once the story moves forward, the like this man, and this is going to be spoiler territory for those who have not read it, but this is just one page. This is one page out of this whole book so far. So just think about it. Like take that into consideration. This man jumps out of a flying airplane
Oh yeah.
just to get out of conversation.
Yeah. That's the way I feel sometimes, like you kind of get caught in a conversation with someone you don't want to talk to from your past or something, or just like someone in general, and you're just like, oh crap, where do I go? And there's nowhere to go. And that's kind of like what you do as a writer, right? You kind of push the boundaries and a little bit further, and then sometimes you find yourself at a roadblock. So you're like, okay, what's the craziest thing that could happen? Or like, what would this character actually do in a situation like this? Because it's like his fear meeting his desire, right? And
Right.
then so when those collide, you get something like, oh, he jumps out of the plane, and then you can solve it by giving him a parachute, but then dang, now I'm just like I'm just like going into the out of the matrix into the anyways, yeah, so but yeah, just like crazy stuff. I just wanted like crazy stuff to happen to him, and that's kind of what it's like in reality. But when there's people who live in their heads a lot. Like I'll just walk around and then just imagine stuff. Like Walter Mitty. You remember that movie?
Yeah.
Like where he just like zones out and he's just like, oh, and people are talking to him and he just doesn't even know what they're saying, and
Yeah.
then he
Yeah.
snaps back yeah. So just like I relate a lot to those kinds of things because I just think a lot, and then yeah, so that's kind of where those experiences are rooted from.
I like that.
Yeah.
So, jumping back to a little bit earlier in the book, um, I loved the exchange between him and his parents, where he's like, "Hey guys, I'm going on this trip and I'm not coming back," and they're like, "Cool, we'll see you for dinner."
Yeah.
Like it was the dismissiveness for me. The like this is not the first time this man has like talked big. He has not
Yeah.
shared. This is not the first time he's been like, I'm gonna go do this wild, crazy big thing, and it's for real this time. Like this feels
Yeah.
like the seventh, eighth, 15th time he's had this, like, I'm gonna do this huge thing. And they're just kind of like, let him get it out of his system. He's gonna talk for
Yeah.
a couple days, and
Exactly.
then yeah, whatever. Like,
Yeah.
so he's like, look, here's the ticket. I'm going. And they're like, yeah, we'll see you for dinner.
Yeah. Oh man, I'm so glad you got that. But yeah, that's totally like that's on point. I mean, he just wanted to go and leave and do something, and then his family's just like, okay, yeah, all right, whatever, we'll see you again, or we'll see you soon. But
It, in a way, especially because of the like jumping on a plane and going off somewhere, uh, it reminds me of this film. I don't remember how I came across it, but I came across it on YouTube for free, not legally. It was just there for free, the whole movie, and I was like, "Fuck it, I'm gonna watch it." Uh,
yeah.
but I'd seen like a clip from it, and it was the movie opens with a wedding. Then it's this young dude, like early to mid 20s. He's getting married, and it's like, everybody's there, boom boom, the bride comes forward, and then he's about to say his vows, but then he turns to the whole audience and he's like, under each of your seats there's an envelope. They all open the envelope, and it's photos of the best man and the bride the night before.
Oh no,
So like,
that's
it's
crazy.
wild. So he's just like, the wedding's off, enjoy the buffet, deuces bitches, I'm out.
Oh
And he
dang.
just goes off on this wild trip. It ends up being a really, really like huge like learning experience for him. But it's like
Yeah,
another situation where it's like everything goes incredibly insane, just like while he's trying to like find himself out there.
yeah, yeah.
And
That's
that
amazing.
so it really, like like when he jumped on that plane, I was like, I see, like, I'm getting that vibe, which like I actually really
Yeah.
enjoyed that movie. The acting's not great in it, so like I'm gonna warn you
Oh,
ahead.
okay.
But I'll figure out what the name of it was and I'll let you know, because
Yeah,
it's
I
it's
wanna
an
know.
entertaining film. It's an entertaining film. It has I don't want to say one of the best, but it has a really solid joke, like long tail joke
Okay.
in
Yeah.
it that I like think about every once in a while. Like I think about it every once in a while. Like
Yeah. I
uh,
like movies like those. Like, you remember Bubble Boy with Jake Gyllenhaal?
I never saw that. I
Oh,
remember
really?
the movie, but I never saw it.
Yeah. I mean, it's kind of like as you were talking about that movie that you saw, it kind of reminds me of like those where the character is like stuck in a situation, but then they go out into the world and then they're all, experiencing it's like kind of like a coming of age kind of in your later years kind of
Yeah.
thing. But I like movies like that.
Well, I think a lot of people don't realize, and they forget that you can kind of have uh, like you said, a coming of age at any age, really.
At any age,
Yeah, because
exactly. Yeah.
I mean, like we're conditioned from a very
Hmm.
young age to like do certain things and be certain ways. I mean, like I don't regret it because I met some great people along the way, but like I went to college not because of me, but because of my mother. My mother was very much like, you're gonna go to college, and like she even chose my degree for me. Like out the gate, I don't say I didn't have a choice, but I just didn't consider that I had a choice.
Yeah.
She had already selected one. And for me, I was a kid, I didn't know any better. So I didn't think about like, is this what I want? I was just like, oh, okay, cool. So I don't have to think about this, right? It was picked
Yeah.
for me, so I don't have to think about it. So then I'm in a major institution. I'm taking classes in a big hall, like a presentation hall, and I'm like, I fucking hate this. Like I can't, like I
Oh
don't want to
yeah.
listen to my teacher who's 80 feet away from me on a projector screen speaking through the speaker system, as opposed to like in a room. So like, I learned there that it's like big ass hall classrooms are not for me. There's not
Yeah.
really a way to learn that without doing that. So,
Yeah.
there's
Exactly.
I've got learned experiences, and I met some, like I said, I met some great people in those
Hmm.
experiences. I wouldn't change it, but it was just like a lot of things when you're younger, even though when they feel like they're a choice, they're kind of selected for you. You're pushed in directions by friends,
Yeah.
family.
Oh yeah.
It's always something. So like when you hit a certain age, it's funny that this is the subject, because I was just watching clips earlier today of this young woman who's, I think, 26 or something, just quit American Idol because she had a whole ass family to go to. So
Huh.
apparently she was like scouted. She was like on TikTok or whatever. So she was scouted for this current season of American Idol, and they brought her on, and she auditioned well or whatever. And like there's this whole like kind of backstory to it. But it's like she was on for however many weeks, right? And then she comes on and she's like, "This is gonna be my last performance. My heart is back home, so I'm gonna go. My babies need me." 'Cause she's got kids.
Oh wow.
But she was just
Yeah.
like, "This isn't." Whether it was this isn't important enough, but it was like, to have that like solidified in you, like
Yeah.
she had the opportunity to like go for it the whole way. And I don't know her brain, so maybe it's like a guilt thing or who knows, but like, but if let's give it the best possible framing. It's like she had this opportunity and
Mhm.
realized this isn't enough for me to not be with my kids as much as I want to be. This isn't enough for me not to be with my family as
Yeah.
much as I want. So like, it's the flip side of like, oh, you're gonna like one day you're gonna regret not doing this thing. It's the flip side of it because she's like
Yeah.
26. She had this massive opportunity, huge platform, right? But then she
Yeah.
was like, this isn't enough. I want to be with my family and want to be with her family to like have that solid. Think about how much like
Yeah.
emotional and mental freedom she has now that she's not every once in a while being like, what if I pursued singing? Like
Oh yeah.
she had it. She was there. She could have pursued it,
Yeah.
but it wasn't enough. So it's like now she could have fun with it. Now she could probably enjoy singing more
Oh yeah.
by just being like, this isn't something I need to pursue, or this isn't something that I like missed out on. This is just something I enjoy doing.
Yeah. And it was, I mean, a lot of it, I do think, like you said, um, she may regret, like, or she may look back and be like, oh, I could have done that. But at the same time, it was either that regret or having the regret of the family.
Yeah,
So if she went into American Idol or whatever and like continued her career there, I mean, maybe she would have like regretted it because then she would have had, been super busy, no time for her family. But yeah, those are the hard decisions that like you have to make in life, and sometimes they suck, but other times it's worth it in the end, in the long run. So
absolutely,
yeah,
absolutely. And that's the thing. I feel like something that kind of gets left out of these conversations, especially about like pursuing your dreams and things like that. There are a group of people. I think I don't want to say a wide majority of people, but a lot of people that don't want to pursue their hobbies as like a thing they do, right? Like
yeah,
I
yeah,
want to tell stories and it's like I want people to read them. So I'm making a platform. I want to participate in the like, creator community. So like I have taken opportunities like to create a podcast, create a magazine where I
yeah,
am interacting and I am promoting people so that I am within that space and I'm fulfilling that for myself. Some people just want to read comics. Some people just
mhm,
want to write fanfic and go do their regular
yeah,
job and do other shit. They just enjoy
yeah,
like it's not everyone. I think that's the thing is when people talk about you got to pursue your dreams, not everyone will have these dreams or will have these dreams at any given like era of their life, right? Some people are
yeah,
25 and they're just out of college and they're hitting their first job. They're thinking they're gonna be a millionaire. They're climbing the corporate ladder.
oh
In
yeah,
5 years, they might realize they love crocheting and that's all they want to do. So it doesn't
mhm,
matter what the job is, but they just really want to make these really cool, intricate crochet things.
yeah,
You don't know what's gonna happen. So
yeah.
it's
You
like
don't.
there's no one set path. That's the thing that a
Yeah,
lot of people I think confused. Everyone's like, oh, they compare themselves, right? And I've always seen it as it's not a race with other people.
yeah,
Like everyone's like, oh, you're not, where are you in comparison to other people? The race is not with other people. It's your race.
mhm,
My only comparison is where I was last week, last month, last year. If I am further ahead than me, that's just the further ahead than me. That's all that matters to me.
yeah,
And I think that has brought me to a really good place. Like a few years ago, I was trying real hard to like push YouTube and do this like tech YouTube channel, and it wasn't going the way I wanted it to go because
yeah,
there are lots of reasons, but regardless, it wasn't moving. And I was comparing to like, oh, this person started after me and they were this big, blah, blah. But like then I saw some of those people who did pop faster than me fall off
oh wow,
because they decided other things were more important, right?
yeah,
So it's like you don't know what the formula is going to be because the person who's like beating you, quote unquote, this week might not even want to do this next week.
yeah,
So whatever you're doing, if that's the thing you want to do, that's all that matters. It's like
yeah,
I don't necessarily want to do certain kinds of tech reviews on my tech channel. I want to make more story based stuff. I'm thinking more about like documentary storytelling stuff.
Oh, that's cool.
Like that to me is more
Yeah.
interesting. So it's like it's become more of a storytelling channel. Like that's why like I still review stuff, but it's like lights. I just reviewed this light, recently. So it's like shit for storytelling, not not like
Yeah.
fucking phones and shit. Although I
Yeah.
did review my phone. My phone is still fire because it has a great camera.
Oh,
But
nice.
again, for storytelling, right? I don't give
Yeah.
a shit about the processor, none of that other nonsense. But like the camera's dope. But like
Yeah.
that's the thing is as long as you're doing what you want, comparison is useless. Like I see
Yeah.
there's so much, like there's so many gurus in all like ranges of YouTube, especially. It's like, oh, if you're in the comic space, there's like YouTube gurus for comic book channels. And it's like, oh, do this,
Oh,
do this,
yeah.
do this. You got to do this. You got to post this often, have this kind of thumbnail, and then there's generic YouTube gurus who are just like they can supposedly like direct your whole thing. But it's like, could that work? Sure, but you got to hit everything
Oh,
perfectly
yeah.
at the right time, but you have
Yeah.
no way to know what the right time is. It might not
Yeah.
be your moment. Your
Yeah.
your exact content might not be what pops.
Yeah.
There's just no way to know any of that shit. Like a year ago, TikTok was big, or 2 years ago, TikTok was all about dancing, right? Dance trends, dance trends, dance trends. Now there's 50 dance trends, or 50 different trends, and now it's this song, or it's this kind of content, or it's this kind of duet, or like there's no
Yeah.
one path. But as long as you're doing what the fuck you want to do, like for me, I on TikTok, I get a couple hundred views like on average. Dope. There's a
Yeah.
couple hundred people that watch my shit. That's awesome. I know that people are getting millions and thousands and hundreds of thousands. Don't care. Like, and it's a great place to be. I'll be honest with you. Like,
Yeah.
it's a great
Yeah.
place because then you're just doing what you want to do. You're not worried about metrics. Like,
Yeah.
you're just enjoying the shit you're doing. And that's I think
Yeah.
the thing that a lot of people miss out on. They
Yeah.
jump into these, whether it's comics, whether it's whatever, and they're trying to do it like a business out the gate.
Yeah.
And it's
Yeah.
like, oh, you gotta make the money. You gotta make the money. Like, how do I move units? Are you enjoying making comics?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah. I
that's
mean,
the question.
it is, it's so much like jumping on the bandwagon, and because they're trends, essentially, that's what they are. That's what everything is a
Yeah,
trend. But if you do what you want to do and you go in your own direction on your own path, then that's when you start trend setting your own,
yeah,
creating your own trend. And that's how I think people like catch on. And then, they kind of, those are kind of the followers that just spark it. But yeah, doing what you want to do, like that's most important. And it's the same thing, with like um dating too, I think, because I think girls can sense if you're single. They just know because you just give it off,
well, yeah,
and
especially if you're like actively looking, right? If you
yeah, yeah,
there's an available aura, right? Like I'm
yeah,
out here aura, like it's there. But I like when I met my wife was when I realized what I wanted from myself and
oh,
from a
that's
partner.
cool.
So like we met on OK Cupid, like we're an
Oh, that's
like
so,
early internet dating love story, like
oh, that's
success
awesome.
story. And the thing is, I had gotten to be such a petty person because the way, I don't know if you've been, but like OK Cupid, the way it
Yeah.
works is you fill out all these questions, like hundreds of questions. And I was on there for like a year or two. So I'd filled out tons of questions. And every time I'd look at somebody's profile, if I didn't answer questions they had answered, I'd answer those. So like I was just padding my questions, right? And
Yeah.
I like hit some that were just like insanely dumbass questions that I'm like, how is anyone gonna get this wrong? So it became my like quick litmus test. It's like I would go through the questions, and one of the questions I'll never forget this because it's such a ridiculous question. It's like, which is bigger, the sun, the moon, or the earth? And it's like, if you get that wrong, I can't have a conversation with you. I don't
Yeah.
care if everything else is 100%, but I became
Yeah.
so petty about like the tiniest things. There was one, this was another one. This is like a profile that I'll never forget because it was like, she's reading X-Men into comics, and I was like, oh, this is so cool. And then I saw hates cats. I was like,
Oh,
hate, like, I prefer dog, but like hates cats.
yeah,
Hates
that's a
is such a
strong word.
strong word. So
Yeah.
I just like never even messaged. So it was just one of those like I became so petty about it. But it's like
Yeah.
when I found my wife, uh, it was like it was so fucking crazy because I was just looking and went through all the questions, but it's like a lot of the shit we had different answers for, but it's like you could like explain your answer in certain
Yeah.
ones, and it was just like she would say yes, I would say no, but our explanation essentially made it the same answer, and I was like,
Oh,
oh,
okay.
okay, so it's like we're just looking at it from two different perspectives, but like
Yeah.
ultimately it's the same answer. So she's like,
Yeah.
man, we really click on a lot of shit, and I like saw that she's like, oh, she's like speaks Bosnian, and I was like, sure she does. I'm like, somebody taught her a few swear words, whatever. Like
Yeah.
that's how we do, right? We speak different languages, and the first shit we teach people when they want to learn something is swear
Yeah.
words. And then I was like, all right, let me get your email. She hits me with an email, and it's like in her email is like in Bosnian, and I was like, oh shit, she
Oh,
might be for
dang.
real. So
Yeah.
like I get the best of both worlds, man. She ended up studying over there. She like went to Bosnia, went to Croatia. Like
Wow.
no, like it was so cool. It was it's
Yeah.
weird. Second podcast, I'm giving props to my wife, but like I get the best of both worlds, man.
Oh,
Like
that's amazing.
she's
Yeah.
American. She's American as fuck, but like just that was the region she chose. She was like, I didn't want to
Yeah.
study Spanish, so I studied Serbian in school, and then there was a study abroad program, so she went to like Belarus and like study, and just ended up studying all of this like Eastern European stuff. And I was like, wow, that's crazy.
Yeah.
like like
Why did she, was it by random or
pretty
that she went
much,
to study?
pretty much, it was just like a kind of whatever, like a random thing. It was just like
Wow.
she's like, I didn't want to do Spanish, so I didn't want to do something that was like typical, so I was like Serbian, fuck it, and like that just steamrolled into all this other stuff. I was like, that's really fucking cool. Like,
Oh, that's crazy.
yeah. So but yeah, the like mentality of figuring out like what you want.
Mhm.
Like once I knew what I wanted at that time for myself and what I wanted from a partner, it became very easy to have those conversations
Yeah.
because it doesn't like everything else doesn't matter, right?
Yeah.
Once you have your key things, whether it's in life or in love or whatever, once you have the key things that you want, at work or wherever, in a friendship, once you know what are, your deal breakers, if you will, or whatever you want to call them, it's easy to have every conversation because it's like, okay, cool. Like, listen, this isn't going to work. We can't really be friends because XYZ reason, you put pineapple on pizza. I can't live with that. That whatever is your,
Yeah.
I know a lot of people have a really, really strong opinion on that one particularly. I don't really give a shit. I've had it. It's fine. Like it's not like a choice I would make, but it's fine. I'd eat it. But it's
It's
like,
food. Yeah.
it's like it's if you but like as long as like, when you know the thing, like when you know when you
Yeah.
know you like you truly can appreciate who you are and what you want out of life, and like however weird it might seem, because like if I go back to when I met my wife, if I had told me then like, oh, you're gonna want to write stories and like have a side job or whatever to pay the bills, I'd be like, no, this makes sense. Like I want to make this big company and do all this be like big shit, and it's like
Yeah.
it might get to that eventually, but like I'm like cursed with this fucking thing where I think the biggest version of shit first.
Mhm.
My initial starting, like, I think of, I'm warp technology before I figure out how to fly. Like
Yeah.
I'm like, how do we get to Mars? Like you have never flown a plane. So let's start there. Like
Oh man. That's
it's
so
just
true though. Yeah, like you can dream big and then totally get lost in that dream. But like the key is to like focus on, small tasks first and taking bite-sized pieces, right? Before even, I mean, you can imagine that, but at the same time, it is also like when you imagine a dream of, becoming, doing this or becoming big or anything, it kind of gets blown out of proportion. You kind of get lost in it, and you're not really focusing on the smaller things and letting them grow. Because like once you're okay with that, you know what you want, but you're focusing more on the small stuff first, then you're like giving it more body and substance in order for it to grow, right?
right.
Um, but yeah, totally, man. And yeah, congrats on, finding your wife. That's like that is a huge success story.
Thank you. Thank you.
Cause yeah, that's just like, I mean, I have been on OK Cupid before, and actually I thought it was one of the better apps because I did meet someone on there, and we were talking for a while, for like, I mean, it was a long time, dude. I mean, for me, it was a long time. It was like a year and a half.
Oh wow.
Um, but I like at that point, like I asked if I wanted to move things forward and meet in person because we haven't even met in person. And then so
Oh
uh,
wow.
yeah, and so she was kind of like I think, well, she was 24, and yeah, she was 24. And then I mean, she was just a very different person. She lived a lot in the digital world, and that was completely opposite from what I was used to because I grew up in the 90s, where we still had technology, but it wasn't like this huge thing where you're born into like devices and the internet, the digital universe, and that is just like a whole nother like reality, once you get into that, because you can get lost in there. And I'm just used to like interacting with people in person, talking with them face to face and experiencing them through, in person and physical. And she wasn't used to that. And so I don't know, there's some things going on, but she kind of like gave excuses to like not meet.
Yeah,
And so I
yeah.
gave her multiple opportunities, but then she still didn't want to meet. So that's when I just kind of had to end it. And then yeah, and so it kind of like fizzled out because I was just like, I gotta um you know I may hurt some feelings here, but I have to be free. I can't just keep waiting, basically. But
Dude, you got
yeah,
it. Look, I'm gonna give you. Are you still dating? Are you like?
uh
I,
that's one of those things, is that like I'm kind of um yeah, I'm just kind of just like
but
playing
you're
it cool right now.
yeah, but
And
you're out
yeah,
there and available.
yeah, yeah, exactly.
Here's what I'm gonna tell you. This is I think, and it's gonna sound cold, but I think it's practical because like
Yeah,
you spent a year with that young lady. That's a lot of time to dedicate to something like that when it's not going anywhere. So
yeah,
it's gonna sound cold. I know it comes off very like clinical, but you got to do the employment 30, 60, 90. You got to do the 30
okay,
day the 30-day evaluation, 60-day evaluation, 90-day evaluation. At 30 days, you decide if this is worth giving a couple months to. 60 days, am I giving this another 30? At 90 days, am I pushing this another 3 months? Is this something that's worth putting my energy and efforts into for 6 whole months? Like 6 months is half a year. And at
yeah,
6 months, you got to make that call for the year. Like
because that's your life right
that's
there.
a year
Yeah,
is, dude, so
yeah,
many things can happen in a year. So many
yeah,
things.
yeah.
Like people have come into the scene, every scene, like music and comics and everything. Like people have come into the scene, blown up, and disappeared in a year.
Yeah,
Like and everything, right? Like
yeah,
where's Lil Nas X? What's he doing?
yeah. I don't know.
He showed up, was huge for a year, for a solid year. Lil Nas X was on everybody's mind.
Yeah,
I don't know what he's doing. He's gone. Now, he might be like doing some regular stuff. He might be doing some acting or putting out a regular album or whatever. But he is not the phenomenon that he was. He was in a position where he could have been enormous,
yeah,
unless he gets another insanely viral hit, which is so incredibly difficult, especially in this era. So like a year is such a long time,
yeah,
especially like we said earlier. You only get one go around at this. You're gonna spend a
yeah,
year chasing nothing.
yeah,
Yeah, 30 days. Is this moving? Is this hitting the right notes? Right
yeah,
now, exceptions can and always should be made. Right, if something is new and unique, and you're like, this feels so different, like because that's what happened to me. Like I was like 36 to 90, met my
mhm,
wife. Second date, so like a week after our first date, second date, we go to her friend's place. She makes me shopska, which is a Balkan salad, right? so,
Yeah.
so it's super silly, but like we were at her friend's place. Her friend is Bosnian. Her other friend is Bosnian. So it's like we're sitting there, they're making food. She makes me the salad, and it's just like the silliest thing, right? It's a salad.
Yeah.
And I sit there and I just look at her and I'm like, this feels like home.
Oh, that's awesome.
And it's like that's never gone away. That
Yeah.
feeling is never gone. So it was like right there, that was
That was it.
it. Like there was no
Yeah.
30, 60, 90 now bullshit. Like
Oh,
no
yeah.
like to me at that point, no matter what happened,
Yeah.
I was gonna work and fight to make this happen.
Yeah.
So that was the moment for me. But it's like if you don't have that, which like you don't necessarily have to have that on the second date. Like that's I don't want to
Yeah.
set any wild expectations for people, but it's like if you don't have that moment where it's like, oh my god, it's so new, so unique, like I want to explore this fully, then at 30 days, you've had a couple, 2, 3, 4 dates by then. Is it going anywhere? And I don't
Yeah.
mean physically. Physically is whatever. Physical shit can happen whenever.
Yeah.
Is it going anywhere? Is this something that you're going to build? Like, and that's honestly, it's true for anything. That's true for romance. That's true. That's true for work. Like, I think a lot of people put a lot of time in at places that they should have dipped out on a long time ago. Like the company I'm at, the environment, the culture, like I never thought I'd be fucking talking about this. I really felt like the word culture had been like beaten to death by all these like money gurus, like, oh, the culture of a workplace, blah blah. No, like genuinely the culture at my work, outstanding. Couldn't have possibly
That's
asked for a
awesome.
better place. So it's like when that like really hit, like I was
Yeah.
training for like a week and a half. And it's like for a week and a half, I'm watching these like ancient safety videos and all the shit. Like I work at a place with a warehouse, so like tons of safety videos. And they're like, hey, look, like you get around to those videos. Like you don't work out there, you're putting orders and shit. So why don't we show you how to put orders in? Let's move on. Cause like you can watch the videos at a later time. Like let's
Yeah.
move
That's
you on.
cool.
Cause it was like, yeah, you could sit here for 2.5 weeks because it took probably in total, by the time I finished all the initial videos that they had given me, probably 2.5, maybe 3 weeks of like full 8-hour days of watching.
Oh,
Like a
dang.
shit ton of fucking videos, bro.
Yeah. That's
So I was like,
crazy.
I could have sat there for 3 weeks doing nothing and collecting a paycheck, but just watching videos and like absorbing shit and maybe having some time to ask questions here and there. But like, they're like, nah, like, let's have you start doing your fucking job. And you could catch up on videos that, as you go. And that was
Yeah.
like right there. I was like, oh, this is kind of dope. That's a good mentality. It's not just like
Yeah.
check these boxes so that we could move you forward in the process. No, it's a legitimate place. And it's like, it's a place that I really enjoy it. So it's like it's something that it's it's an industry that I don't know shit about. So like everything is learning something, just dope. I really enjoy learning things. And then I don't have to, it's not something I have to bring home. My last job, I was in tech
Yeah.
support. I really like tech. I like when
Yeah.
people have a good experience with tech. So like I worked at a major company. I would see them make decisions, from on high. They would trickle down and I would see them and I'd be like, people aren't going to like this. And then my whole job was to deal with people who didn't like the decision I had already seen wasn't a good
Oh,
decision. So like I'm mad about it 4 different ways by the end of a day,
yeah.
so it's like at the end of the day, I'm just mad. Like, well, how could all I'm doing after work is like, why would they fucking change that? I'm talking to 16 people today who have the same fucking problem I had. Like, why would they change that shit? Right. So I'm mad the whole day, every
Oh
day.
my gosh.
Whereas now it's like, I don't even think about my work. It's just like,
Yeah.
I have it or I don't. I can order it or I can't. It costs this much or I can give you a discount. That's it. It's like yeses and nos. It's very binary and like what is there.
Yeah.
So it's like the industry's cool, but it's like learning cool shit. Like I give my buddy Ben, he sent me the box for Frontier Forever. I give him shit about the
Uh,
box because I got that box the day after I learned what my company does, right? They
yeah.
basically it's a lot of shit, but they sell a lot of they're like a distributor for a lot of shit that people use to make boxes, amongst
Yeah.
many other things. But that's like the main thing I always tell people. So the shit that people use to make boxes like yours and like his, they sell. And it's like his came and like the flap on the front.
Yeah.
On his box, it like doesn't fold all the way. It doesn't fold flat.
Oh no.
And like the day I got that was like the day after I had learned why that happens. So I
Uh,
was like, I know why this is fucking like they used the wrong kind of shit. But
yeah.
it's like the dumb reason to know why shit is. It's like a little funny like things like
Yeah.
now like when you pull a Kleenex thing off and like
Oh yeah.
pieces of it rip off and it doesn't come off properly. I know
Yeah.
they use the wrong kind of zip edge. Like I know the shit that they use to make
Oh
it.
really?
No, it's just like it's dumb shit to
That's so
know.
funny.
It's
Yeah.
like dumb
That's
shit
hecka
to like
funny.
in practicality, it's nothing. It means
Yeah.
nothing, but it's like it's funny to have these like little things. But it's like once
Yeah.
I realized that, I didn't have to worry about. Once I realized I like the environment, I didn't have to worry about. Oh, am I gonna have to look for another job? Is this gonna work?
Yeah.
Right. Once you kind of make that evaluation, you got to make that evaluation early on. Because like, hey, if you work with somebody who's super toxic and you don't want to fucking work with them,
Oh yeah.
any certain monies like certain monies will make me excuse a lot of behavior, but if it's like the money is just okay and the people are toxic, that's the value of that is way higher. That's gonna
Yeah.
outclass the money. I'd be like, I'm gonna be looking for something else because this isn't gonna work for me. But
Yeah.
you got
Totally,
to make
man.
that call early. You got to make that call early.
Yeah.
Friendship same
Because
way. If somebody's trying to get you to do shit you don't want to do, or trying to let's stay up, let's drink more, blah blah. If you don't
yeah.
want to do that, that's not a person you want to hang out with.
Yeah. And you know, you got to call your own this you make your own decisions too cuz
Right.
but yeah, I mean like exactly in line with what you're talking about with your job and your and the culture at the work. This year I had or last year I had a job that I didn't like. It was like it involved dog walking, and I
Okay.
love dogs. I love everything about dogs, and but I was more into like the dog psychology
Okay.
of it, and theirs was very bare bones. Their style of dog walking was very bare bones. Just put all the dogs in the van, let them run free, make sure none of them get away. But that's like the hardest part
Ideally.
because they're freaking dogs, right?
Right.
They're always gonna like be running off, doing whatever the hell they want. And then so I I just went through that for a half a year, and that was the 6 month point of knowing I was like, okay, I can't do this anymore because I also didn't vibe with uh, the person who owned the company, so I just I couldn't do it, you know, like every day, like day after day of not wanting to work and
Yeah.
like hating my job. Yeah, you can't just put yourself through that. So yeah, that's why I switched back to the other job I was at, and then but exactly what you're talking about in doing tech support and customer service, all the where all the problems like trickle down to you. So I deliver packages for Amazon,
Nice.
and it's basically like last mile delivery. So
Oh, okay.
everything pretty much gets put on the delivery person if something happens either to the package or you know whatever in the system or whatever. We're always like responsible, but it's not you know it doesn't always come down on us exactly. It's more of like the DSP, which is
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
third party delivery service. So, but it's just the customers always think it's us. You know what I mean? And then they complain about it.
Because to them you are the company.
Yeah,
You are
yeah, we
Amazon,
yeah
right? And
exactly
that's the
exactly.
thing. That's the thing that always killed me. Like I worked,
Yeah,
uh, I worked for Apple, and that was a whole thing. But it's like to whoever I was talking to at any given time, I was Apple. So it's
yeah,
like, oh, why did
yeah,
you change
exactly.
this? I didn't change shit.
Yeah,
I
that's
wouldn't have
exactly
changed it
yeah
if I had the call. If it was
yeah
my call, it would be the same
yeah.
as it was a week ago. But
There's so
it
many
wasn't my call.
frustrating things. Yeah, it's just like there's so many things that you want to change about the system, but there's nothing you can do about it, and that's like the most that's what pisses me off the most is like things that I can't change, but that are easily changeable to make work life for the delivery person or for the employee like so much better.
Yeah.
But they don't, and because it would either cost them money or, I mean, it's just like it doesn't make sense to me. But
It's
yeah,
a lot of decisions being made in like
yeah,
especially in larger companies like that. There's so
yeah,
many divisions, and more often than not, they're not all talking to one another. So it's like there's so
yeah,
many different divisions and chunks of the company that they think this and they think that. I mean, like there's a reason that like the like early 2010s everyone and their fucking mom, all the companies decided that a flat minimalist logo was the way to go with a smile on it, right? There's a reason of Logitech, IHOP,
Oh,
all these
yeah.
fucking companies got a smile because everyone
Yeah.
fucking saw Amazon. They were like, oh, the fucking smile in the Amazon makes people happy. And like, that's why they trust
Yeah.
it, whatever. So it's like you had a bunch of people who were coming out of college who just learned that. And then they went to work for Logitech and IHOP and all these fucking companies. Like, there was nothing wrong
Yeah.
with the IHOP logo for fucking 80 years or however long it was the last iHeart logo. It was there forever. There was no problems with it. No one fucking hated it. Nobody was like, man, the IHOP logo makes me sad because it was like the banner was like in a frown. But it's like
Oh,
no
okay.
one thought about it as a face, so no one ever said, "Oh, it makes me sad." People were still going to fucking IHOP. You know what it did do when they changed it? It became a creepy face. So then the IHOP thing looks like it's following you as you drive by. It made me not
Okay.
want to go there. That's the fucking irony of it.
Yeah.
But it's like, yeah, you have these companies like they don't think about all the real practicalities. It's like there's certain trends and there's certain, like there's a big thing on TikTok right now, a discussion about McDonald's laying off a bunch of people, but like they made like $6 billion in net profit last year. Like that's an
Oh,
insane amount of fucking money. Like go
yeah.
fuck yourself. You're gonna fire people. That's stupid. Doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
But it's like they did, it wasn't the 7.5 billion they made the year before, so they gotta cut costs. Like they don't care. They don't give a shit about the people at the stores. They don't give a shit about anybody besides that number. The
Yeah.
decisions are made by a stat sheet. Like
Yeah. That's
it's
very true. Yeah.
it's they're playing they're playing fantasy football with real people, fucking real people's
Yeah.
lives. They see
Yeah.
stats, they see numbers, like that's all that fucking matters to them. It doesn't
Yeah.
the biggest thing for us, when I was at Apple was, oh, the customer satisfaction score. Nothing else
Oh,
mattered.
yeah.
Efficiency didn't matter. Resolutions, like actual resolution, none of that shit mattered.
Yeah.
Customer satisfaction score is not exactly at this place where we want it
No.
to be. We got to talk. Why? What do we got to talk
Yeah.
about? I'm dealing with 40 to 60 to 80 people on some days. It is what it is. You can't, you cannot satisfy that percentage of people at all times.
Yeah.
It's just not practical.
Yeah. You can't. But yeah, it always, I mean, for those big companies, it always just comes down to metrics and the numbers by the end of the day. And in the end, like if you as an employee focus too much on that, then you kind of, I mean, you're just pretty much don't get lost in that spiral
Yeah.
of like, yeah, you're pretty much comparing yourself, your value to those numbers, and that's not even realistic.
And that's why, especially when you go strike out into your own, it's more important, I think, that you are enjoying the thing that you're doing. Like you said, you wanted to do this to just share this story. Like you want to tell this story
Yeah.
regardless. Like you don't want to worry about, oh, if this many units sold or if the Kickstarter makes its goal or all these, like there's a lot of things. I'm looking at certain Kickstarters. On the last pod my buddy Hamza was on, and I'm looking at his Kickstarter, and like I'm invested because he's also Balkan. So it's like for me, I'm a little invested in him now. So like
Yeah.
I'm looking at it, and it's like it was a day, and like the number didn't move, and I was like, what the fuck do we got to do to make this number move? Like, and I'm not, it's not even my book. I'm not making any money on this. It's
Yeah.
like I don't have to bridge. So it's like but he really, he wants to tell the story. He really enjoys it. So like, I mean, I'm sure the numbers are affecting him, but it's like he still also wants to just tell the story. But it's like
Yeah.
he could tell it all now, or you could tell it over however long. But it's like he's a fucking nutcase. He's like 334 pages first time out. Yeah,
What?
yeah. This man just
Crazy.
decided to come out 334 pages first book. That's his first book out. I was like, bro,
Wow.
my first like published comic shit was like 8 pages. Like
Yeah.
you went X thousands of multiples of that. That's insane. Like, why don't you relax a little bit? Why don't you start with 10 pager or something? Get the appetite,
Yeah.
But nah, he wants to tell it a certain way, which like I respect the shit out of that. That is the way he wants to do it. And hey, that's the way he wants to go, but like that
Yeah.
does make it so that you are looking at those numbers very, very heavily,
Yeah.
there's pluses and minuses to both of that, right? Like, so you're doing it for the love, and I appreciate that. That's why when people talk to me, when I tell people that I rap, and they're like, oh, like, oh, you're trying to be a rapper or whatever. I'm like, no, 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 no. I am one of the few people that can genuinely say they're doing it for the love, because I love the art of hip hop. And it's like, I'm not trying to be a rapper. I'm not trying, like, I don't have a SoundCloud, none of that
Yeah.
shit. I'm
Yeah.
working very slowly at a very casual pace. Once, like, when shit hits me, that's when I write. Like, I'm
Yeah.
working at a very casual pace on a mixtape. Yes, it's a thing. I'm gonna release it because that's the way I want to
Oh,
tell the story.
nice.
That's it. I want to
Yeah.
make. I'm gonna make a bunch of music videos with it because that's I want to tell those stories
Oh,
visually.
that's dope.
So it's
Yeah.
like it's all about what the thing is, the process of it. For me, it's
Yeah.
not about making a name for myself. It's not about building, a play count on Spotify. I don't give a shit about none of that.
Yeah.
Like, I don't care. I don't care. I really don't. I love, sometimes I follow a couple really dope hip hop people on TikTok, and it's like they share a beat and I'm just like, yeah, this is fucking fire. And it's like
Yeah.
it gets the juices flowing, man. It
Oh,
really,
yeah.
really gets the
Exactly.
juices flowing. Like certain ones,
Yeah.
there's I've been like slowly cracking a song on that fucking I forget the name of the group, but it's like the song is I Can't Stop. Jay-Z and
Mm.
Kanye did a version of it, sampled it, but like the I can't stop, do, like it's from a while ago. It's kind of like an EDM track, but
Yeah.
there's not any other lyrics. It's just like a dope beat with this I can't stop part. And it's like the beat of it, the actual beat of that song. I'm just like, fuck,
Yeah.
I really want to throw a couple verses on this, but it's just like
Yeah.
something that it's for me, it's got to like form. But again,
Yeah.
that's the enjoyment of it. I'm doing that just
Yeah.
for the enjoyment of it. And that's why this podcast, the magazine, for me, I'm putting stuff out because I want to put it out. Like
Yeah.
I really want to promote people. I think there are so many dope fucking creators out there like yourself that are doing such interesting things. I mean, I'll be very honest with you. Slice of life as a genre, not my thing. It's not my thing.
Yeah.
So like I started reading your thing and then I look back at your page and it says slice of life. I was like, oh, I mean, I that's fair. Like I guess this is slice, but it's like I am enjoying the shit out of this.
Oh, cool.
But like as
Thanks.
a genre, I would like if I had seen it as just like here's this story about, I'd have been like, all right, cool. Like I would have supported you,
Yeah.
but it's like I jumped into it, but like because I like your writing already. Like I know I
Oh,
enjoy
thanks.
your writing. So it's like I jumped into that right away. But then I read it and I was like, this is really fucking interesting. Like, I'm waiting for that
Oh,
next
cool.
fucking page. Like I'm anxious for it. I read it and
Oh,
I like it looked like there was another page. I swear to you, on God, I'm not blowing smoke. Three
yeah.
fucking times. I'm like, am I gonna reload this? What I gotta do? Different browser? Like, how do I get to this next
Yeah.
page? Because it like had a next button. Then I was like, is there a
Oh,
page that's
okay.
not loading correctly? Like, am I
Yeah.
missing something here? So I tried 3, 4 different times to like try to get it to load. Nothing loaded. I got all the pages, but just like
Oh, okay.
I was like, I wanted more.
Uh,
So like I think the pacing of it's really interesting. I think the story is really entertaining. It's there's something else. I can't think of what else is reminding me of, but there's something else that's reminding me of it. But it's like the the pace really pulls you forward in the story. And that's something that I think like for myself, I think pacing is like something that I'm really, really struggling with. Um, I think it's okay, but like I also had to move my main comic series from a 22 page standard format to like 10-page issues because my
mm,
original plan was like a 3-page exposition, and then I sat down and wrote it and I was like, this has been 1.5 pages. What do I do for the rest of
yeah.
this space? And I'm like had to figure it out. But it's like once I like changed the format for my own storytelling purposes, the story became better paced. But like pace, I think, is really difficult for a lot of writers to nail. Like there's definitely been comics that I've read in recent times, some even majors, honestly, even like Marvel shit, where it's like, all right, like there's not really an incentive to turn the page.
Hmm.
For yours, it feels like there is every page there is an incentive to move forward. Because
Oh, wow.
it's like the crazy shit that's happening, right? First, I mean, right out the gate, man quits his job. So it's
Yeah.
like, all right, why is he quitting his job?
Yeah.
Where's this going?
Yeah.
I love the fucking big shot of him riding his bike and it's just like free. And I'm like, I
Yeah.
feel that. I've been there. I feel that. So it's like we've all like had that moment where we're like we let loose of that shit that's holding us back.
Yeah.
And like I feel that moment. So I was like, all right, like I feel this. Where are we going with this? Like there's always something that's driving you forward. And I really love that. And I gotta give
Thank
you
you,
big
man.
ups. I gotta give you big ups for
Thank you.
for hiring fucking artists from Serbia, fellow
Oh
Balkan.
yeah.
Like I
Yeah.
saw that and I was like, oh shit, we everywhere.
Oh, that's dope, man. Yeah, actually I had to look up Balkan and then where it was at in the world. And then I saw that Bulgaria was in the region, and my old manager, she's an amazing person. She was Bulgarian, but I didn't know that it was part of the that region. So that's pretty cool.
It's a very it's a very broad cultural region, but it's like a lot of shit. There's a lot of bullshit, and I mean like historically and politically and all these other shits.
Yeah.
But it's funny. That's actually one of the songs I want to make. I want to make a song where it's literally like we're all the fucking same. Like we all drink, like we all like all of us there. We all drink Turkish coffee. It's like that's what it's
Oh,
called in all the countries.
yeah.
It's called Turkish coffee. So like the little part of Turkey that is considered part of Balkan, like that's their thing, right?
Yeah.
Greece, as far as I'm aware, Greece came up with baklava. Baklava's in all the countries. A little different, different nuts or whatever. More honey, less honey. There's a little difference. Everyone got their own little flavor on it, but it's the same
Yeah.
shit. So it's like we're all the same motherfuckers. We speak
Yeah.
a little differently, different accents, a couple different root languages, but like we all are the same motherfuckers. Like, we have way more of the fucking common than we don't, and it's kind of fucking hilarious to me. And when shit like Ukraine is happening,
Yeah.
that is a stone's throw away. That shit is a stone's throw away, and I'm just like, I'm very like, don't don't do this again, because like I came from a war. I
Yeah.
don't bullshit again. Don't start nonsense again. At the end of the
Yeah.
day, it's like it's all for rich, powerful people bullshit. It's not for the people, not for the regular people. None of that shit matters.
Yeah.
Like they have been taught that it matters. So yeah, like your regular everyday show on the street will talk about, oh, this, that, or the other thing that's like politically charged. They don't actually, like, it doesn't actually matter to them. It doesn't affect their fucking lives. Same shit here. Like imagine if we just opened up the southern border in America. What would
Yeah.
that do day to day? Nothing. You'd go to work, you'd come home and make your comics.
Yeah.
This like myth of like, oh, they're coming to take our no, the fuck they're not. They're not. Like I thought we had a massive unemployment. No, we
Yeah.
got jobs for motherfuckers to take. Like I thought there was a massive problem with unemployment. I thought nobody wanted to work. Bring some motherfuckers in that want to work. Like, I don't know, man. Like to me, the like insanity of borders and shit is so crazy. Like all strife throughout history has been based on arbitrarily placed lines on a piece of paper.
Yeah.
That's it. You call it whatever you want, God and all this other shit. God's not, like God in any version of God from any religion that I'm aware of. God doesn't want war. Motherfuckers interpret God's wishes as war. That's different. And that's a motherfucker problem. That's not a God problem.
Yeah, exactly.
So like at end of the day, it's rich, powerful people that are directing the shit that happens to us. That is like, it's all fucking wild out here. Like end of the day, all we can do is live the lives we got the best way we can live them. This has
Yeah.
become a very, very like deep shit podcast. I'm sorry.
Oh yeah, man. No, that's I know I really appreciate the deepness of it. Because like anything else, I sort of just like, go off or zone out off on, and then but like stuff we talk about, like that's why I really appreciate talking to you, because I don't know, we just vibe, on a certain frequency. So yeah, it's it's really cool. Always cool to talk to you, man.
Definitely, man. Same, dude. When I first saw, so I saw that you followed me on Instagram from the Green Pizza Comics account, and I was like,
Yeah.
oh, what's Green Pizza Comics, right? Because I was like, it's a new comics thing. I haven't heard about it.
Yeah.
I jump into it, right? Look at the website, and I look at the photo, and it says Zach Young, and I was like, is that the same Zach Young? And I'm looking, and
Yes, at the
I'm like,
same
got a
man.
lot of facial hair, way more facial hair than the last time I saw him, but like, motherfuckers grow facial hair, so that's why I reached out. I was like, is this
Very
actually
funny.
him?
Yeah,
Because so I was like,
that's
what's going on? Like, what the fuck? I was like, I'm waiting for Deep Theory too. What the fuck is Green
yeah.
Beats Comics?
Yeah, I
So,
mean, it's kind of just like side project in the meantime kind of thing because when you have just one thing you're working on, when you put it off into other people's hands, it kind of it takes time, right? And like there are periods of waiting, and so I just like I always have ideas going, and I always like put them into like documents, and then um just like making use of your time is the best thing that you can do while you're waiting, right? Just like letting that all that stuff happen, and then you can do all the creation stuff in the background. That's the kind of stuff that I like to do is just like create in the background um and then put it in motion after. That's like the fun part.
dude,
So,
that's that 100%, man. I'm the same way. I've got many sketchbooks and many notebooks full of shit,
oh, that's cool.
dude. I have. It's like I don't want to toot my own horn, but like I wake up with like fucking dreams that I'm like, oh, that's a really interesting scene. So
Oh yeah.
when I was in college, I still have that notebook. I forget which one it is, but I have this notebook where I had like just tried to find a blank page in the middle of the night. It's fucking pitch black in the room.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I wake up from this dream. It's a fucking wild thing. And I'm like, I gotta write this down before I forget it. So I'm just like
Yeah.
reaching for my shit. I like grab the notebook, grab a pen, and I'm like, I'm pretty sure it's an empty page. It wasn't an empty page. So like I wrote in like kind of really big letters this idea I had about this scene.
Oh,
Literally, it's not like any like I have no context, but it was just like the scene that I came up with. I thought was a really interesting one. And that's how like a lot of my shit happens. It's like I come up with these moments, like these
yeah.
moments that I stitch together for other things. And it's like recently, and I hadn't had something for this in a long time. So like all of us, I think, have some sort of like what one might call our magnum opus, like the big thing, the thing we've been working on the longest. It's been around in our
Yeah.
heads since the youngest point, right? For me, it was seventh grade. It started
Oh,
as, and I'm happy to share this because it's not even remotely this anymore, but it started as a blatant Spider-Man ripoff. However, However, I will take credit for two things that have since happened in Marvel because I very much believe in the idea of like the collective consciousness. Like I
yeah.
think you push it in there and somebody else is gonna sift it out and like if it comes out, like for me, if I came up with something, like a lot of people are like, oh, I thought of that years ago. Yeah, but you didn't
Yeah.
do anything about it, right? That's always the thing.
Yeah.
For me, I don't
Exactly.
care if I didn't do it as long as it gets done, especially if it's like story shit. So like I
Yeah.
came up with when I watched the Black Costume Saga on the Spider-Man the animated series from the 90s. And I was like, that's really cool. I'm like, what if it was inverse? What if it was a white suit with a black logo? That shit would
Oh,
be fire, right?
yeah.
So that's anti-venom because that's what it looks like. Y'all are
Yeah.
welcome. And in my version of this, and by the way, it was funny because a kid in school, because I showed him like this drawing, and a kid in school was like, "Oh, what's his name?" Like, you know, Beater Barker, like what? Like you're clearly copying Spider-Man. And I was like, no. They're like, what is it? Is it you? And it's funny because it was me. It was absolutely. I was like, I had not written out these characters, but I'm like, it was absolutely me. It was like the
Yeah.
concept was for me. Because it was seventh grade. every superhero is you, right? So I was like, instead of being an alien creature, what if it's like a suit made by like a government or like a secret program, and that's Ultimate Venom. Y'all are welcome. so so like that over several iterations and so much nonsense became what it is now. And I haven't like I have several sketchbooks and lots of notes and all this stuff. And it's a very large project, and it's one of those like once I timeline everything, once I have these notes down for like everything, right now the timeline is about 100 issues for the main series, and
What?
and like 10 to 15 extra issues of like tie-in books that have to happen at certain points. Yeah,
That's
I am
insane.
insane. This is what I'm telling you. This is what I'm telling you. I start with the biggest possible version of
Yeah.
shit. Yeah, I came up with an idea that would
Wow.
take me 100, like 10 fucking years to tell. That's the fucking insanity of my brain. But like not even a year ago, I woke up just like a normal day, and I was like, I had this scene in my head, and I was like, oh shit. And like whipped out my phone, pulled out the notes, and I wrote down this scene. And I was like, that's how I so like to me, I bridged this moment of
Yeah.
like how because there was this whole thing where one of the main characters like it's a team book. I love team books, superheroes. But there was a thing where I like at some point I needed the main two of the main characters to have kids to like progress further shit like shit
Mhm.
later on. So because I'd come up with this dope scene about him saving his kids, and I was like, all right, well, at some point I got to get them to have kids.
Yeah.
So I came up with this idea of like, here's this thing, and it's like this is how like at the end of this story, whether it's one issue or whatever, at the end of this part, he talks to the girlfriend or wife. I don't even remember if they were like married at this point, but like he talks to her about having kids, and that's how we get to them having kids. So I was like, this is dope because
Yeah.
like all these little pieces put like come together
Mhm.
over time. And I think
Yeah.
once it's ready, once it's at a point where, because I honestly think like the initial 4 issue arc is way like pretty damn close to being good, like to being like I could put this out.
Oh,
And
nice.
I have rethought my perspective on it, because back in the day when I was a
Yeah.
younger man, when I was a young and wild man, I had this concept of I was gonna go to Marvel, so I was gonna go to the fucking top and be
Yeah.
like 100 issues plus miniseries or nothing, right? That was, and like the girlfriend I was with at the time was like, they're going to laugh at you and escort you out of the building. What are you talking about? You can't ask for a
Yeah.
massive commitment like that. I was like, no, 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 no. If they don't want to do it, fuck them. Right? I was just like, I was like so
Dang.
hard ass about it, right?
Yeah.
But it's like since then, I have rethought my approach to that, and it's very much like I really want to tell this story. Like this that book to me feels like my X-Men, like my big,
Oh, wow.
like long fucking tail. I want to set I want to Jonathan Hickman this shit. I want to set up shit in issue 1 and won't pay off until issue 75. Like I
Yeah.
want it to be such a thing where someone picks up, volume 14, and they're like, oh, this is really dope. Like, what's this mean? And somebody's like, oh, no, no, you haven't been around since the beginning. Let me tell
Yeah.
you.
That's so
Like,
funny.
but yeah, no, I want to tell it in like, if I can, if it ends up being told in chunks and like smaller,
Yeah.
runs of 4, runs of 8, whatever. To me, as long as it gets told, like I'm very much in a mentality of like
Oh
as long as it
man,
gets told, I'm good, because
dude.
that's a big thing that I want to do.
So that's exactly like that's like what I've been working on since like me and Vish actually got reunited as friends like quite a few years ago. But we started a story and then it trailed off into that's like sort of one of the speed bumps that we hit together. And so I sort of just kind of took off on that story and took it under my wing. And then it just became something of my own. And that's like exactly like the experience that you had, except yours goes all the way back to seventh grade. But, you know, just wanting to have the story told because you envision it and it feels so close to your heart than anything. That is, yeah. And it's one of those things that you just have to roll with, like you're like, I have to make this someday. Um, I don't care how it's gonna get done, but it's gonna, and it takes time. Like it just takes those days of like being completely blank, and then other days you'll have like so many epiphanies that yeah, you'll wake up in the middle of the night and want to write something down. Um, but yeah, that's crazy. So how many pages of notes do you have?
Dude, I have
It must be like
3. So
thousands.
I have designed, I think all of the characters, I think almost all the way through the end. There's one character, like the final boss, if you will. He has not been designed, but his original form has. So like I'm gonna set him up literally in issue 1, and that is a carryover from like the second iteration of this, because the second iteration of this was called Techno Ninjas, which like I just
Okay.
loved those two words. I was
Yeah.
eighth or ninth grade, like techno, like Tekno, techno, because
Oh, I
and
see.
that's
Yeah.
and that's specifically because I watched Techno Man, and that show was fucking awesome. But it's very rare on DVD and very hard to find and very expensive. But it's a great show. So I Techno, I was like, I fucking love that, the way you like spelling it with a K, love it. And then Ninjas, I fucking love Ninjas. One of my favorite series from the 90s was the American Ninja series of films. Michael Dudikoff, if anyone remembers, Michael Dudikoff, the American Ninja. Great fucking series. Stupid,
Oh,
dumb as shit, not great act,
yeah.
like terrible acting, but fucking awesome. Like, so one of those like so bad it's great
Yeah.
situations. But
That's
no,
funny.
I came up with this character, this like villain that kind of predates fucking everything, and it's like and I it's funny because like, man, if I had the funds to like hire someone to do the art, now
Oh
would
yeah.
be the time for that book, because it's very keyed into like multiverse shit.
Oh, nice.
One thing that like is like I don't want to say universally, but like very like well known amongst like the people in the know in this world
Mhm.
is, damn, my brain's gonna start working on this story again.
Yeah.
Uh, but like one of the things that's known by the people in the know, like those people in the government, people on these secret projects
Yeah.
and shit, the people in the room. Uh, it's a Hamilton reference for those who don't know. In the room where it happened. Uh, they know that they are on the outside of the spiral, if you will. So like the multiversal spiral of like realities, like there's a core reality, right?
Yeah.
And all variations kind of spiral out from it. And they know, for I still haven't decided why, but like they know that they're like on the outside edge. And the balance between like good and evil, the like abstract good and evil, the
Uh-huh.
power balance is very important. So it's like when this new group of heroes makes their debut, the world, the energy field, or whatever the fuck you want to call it,
Mm.
responds by like by slowly releasing this like ancient evil. So it's
Huh.
like they didn't create this villain. This villain isn't like a modern thing. It's a very ancient thing, but it's like it was on lockdown because there was no opposing force, because the
Yeah.
opposing force that trapped him died when it trapped him back in like ancient times. So it's like
Okay.
there's been nothing since then, and now it's like opening up and these things are happening, and it's like, oh, like I literally the shot is this dude, damn, I don't remember his name anyway. That's it's in the sketch, but it's like he's in
Yeah.
chains, it's in chains and like a void, and it's like the chains just like rattle it a little bit, and you just
Oh
like
yeah.
see an eyebrow like twitch up. That's it. That's the and I don't touch that for many issues, for many
Yeah.
issues. But it's like that is gonna be the kind of shit where it's like I'm just stacking shit, long tail,
Yeah.
super long
That's
tail
dope.
shit. Because I think some of the best kind of storytelling, and this is true for comedy, that's why I actually really like Hamilton so much, because of the way it structures itself in the like
Mhm.
self-referential. As it goes, it's like, oh, remember this thing from the beginning, remember this thing from earlier. It's like statements and like phrases from earlier songs are said later. I love shit that's like that, where it's like it's keeping you aware of the entire story at the same time. So
Yeah.
like I love that kind of storytelling. So I think that's the kind of thing I want to do. I want to do these things that like when this dude pops out, for the few people that like remember these like 2, 3, 4 pages over the course of however many issues,
Yeah.
it's gonna be like, oh shit, that's the fucking guy, right? So like
Yeah.
when this dude pops out and he's the fucking bad guy, it's
They're gonna
that's
know. Yeah.
they're gonna know. They're gonna be like, oh
Yeah.
shit, like it's gonna be like, because they're and I think that's also gonna feed the beast a little bit, the hypotheticals, the like let's look at all the Easter eggs kind of people.
Yeah.
Love those people. Like the dude, the new, I don't know if you saw it, the new Across the Spider-Verse trailer came out, and like within like 3 hours, there was people already like, this is look at all these characters. Like,
Oh, really?
yeah, like they're already doing
Yeah.
YouTube videos and stuff. So it's like that's that'll feed that crowd, which like I like both love and hate that crowd at the same time, because it's like there's a lot of guesses, a lot of wild guesses, a lot of
Yeah.
like you don't have to reveal this to the like layman's, like the people who like this trailer and just want to see it, let them see it. You don't have to be like, oh, this is from this other thing. Like,
Yeah.
they can do that after. They let them do that after the fact.
Yeah.
But it's like at the same time, you got to make content. You got to strike while the iron's hot. So there's like, I understand.
Exactly.
I understand both sides of it for sure.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it's like, yeah, it's
Because I
like
mean,
I've got 3 or 4 sketchbooks of that. I've got
oh
notebooks,
dang.
and every once in a while, like in a sketchbook. Hold on, actually, is this?
Yeah. Do you
I
have?
haven't touched this sketchbook except for the last podcast and this one in literal years. But let's see. I think I have. See, this is what I'm saying. Website design, just dumb shit. Like,
Oh yeah.
I don't remember what this is for, but it was like, oh, actually, it was for what eventually became Catalyst. That's kind of funny. I didn't even think about that.
Oh, that's cool.
Catalyst. That's funny. Catalyst started as another thing where it was like I came up with this biggest version of it as possible. Like I came
Yeah.
up with, I don't know if you're a gamer at all, but like Steam. I was like, I'm gonna do the indie Steam. I want to do indie comics, indie music, like everything indie is gonna be on this platform, and it's gonna be an app on your computer. You can download
Yeah.
comics and all this shit, right? And that's where my head was. And yeah, it was very much like that would require hundreds of thousands of millions of dollars,
Yeah.
teams and engineers and
Yeah.
servers and shit that I just do not have the access to. So
Yeah.
eventually I got to what can I do to do this now, as opposed
Yeah.
to having to wait however long to have all these things. Oh, that's funny. This is not for that, but this is for the series that is tied. Yeah, I forgot I did these. This is for the series that's tied into the book that I'm putting out, that I'm editing.
Yeah.
That book came from me not having the money to pay for an artist, because the script for the comic, the first arc is done. It's been done.
Yeah.
And when I've showed it to people, they love it. So it's like,
Oh,
I
sweet.
want to make this comic, but I do
Yeah.
not have the money to pay people, because like
Yeah.
even at $100 a page, which I feel like is like the low end average,
Like, yeah.
mid range average, uh, that would end, because it's 65 pages, so it's $6,500
Yeah.
plus covers, plus there's a
Yeah.
whole lot of pluses. But this is one of those pieces. This
Oh, that's
is
dope, man.
this is from the search and rescue team on
That's awesome.
Wolfpack, which is that's the shirt I'm wearing.
Oh,
uh,
dope. So who was that guy? Was that
this is see this is why I'm not an artist. That's a woman.
oh, that's
I'm not
okay.
I'm not a great artist.
No, no,
I'm not
you're
a,
good. Okay.
that is one of the search and rescue people. The thing is, it's the universe is mercenaries versus worse mercenaries. It's a
Oh, that's
universe.
cool.
It's a universe where my tagline is, there are no good people. Everybody's out for something. Everybody has an angle. Everybody has like a
Oh yeah.
secret agenda. But it's bad versus worse. There are no heroes in this. Like our protagonists are very much mercenaries. They do the work for money. They just happen to have a stronger code of, hard to even call them ethics, but let's call them ethics for the sake of argument. They have a
Yeah.
stronger code of ethics than the antagonist team. This
Wow.
is a
I like that idea.
kind of a real
Oh, that's
janky
cool.
version of one of the
No, dude.
suits.
Yeah, you're good, man.
Uh,
Like you have proportions down and everything.
but like this this one I'm proud of. This is the carrier vehicle, and this
Oh, that's
whole
cool.
bottom pod is
Yeah.
magnetically attached, and it drops, so the top stays up afloat and the bottom just drops down to deploy the troops.
Oh,
that
that's
was
dope.
that was an idea I had. There's a great scene in like one of the issues, I forget which one, like issue 2 or 3, where like they deploy, and I've got
Yeah.
it because I write, I think technically the DC way. Like I actually tell how to do the pages, like I
Mhm.
do panel by panel breakdown. So I have
Oh,
it,
okay.
the panels being broken up by this ship going up, and then the next
Yeah.
page the ship going down. It's like, because they're doing like a what do they call it, a orbital, like a suborbital jump, where it's like the shortest distance between 2 points is a straight line. So instead of going
Okay.
around the Earth in a curve, it shoots up in a straight line, shoots down in a straight line. So it's
Oh, I see.
theoretically faster.
Yeah.
I learned it from an X-Men comic, so if it's wrong, it's it's somebody
It's their
else's
fault.
fault.
Yeah.
And this is the main dude. That's kind of funny. This is the main dude,
Oh,
Alpha.
that's dope. Yeah, I
Alpha. That
like
is
that.
a early view of him. Uh, it's it's a whole
That's
world,
sick. Yeah.
but
Yeah.
it's something that it came out of a session where me and a bunch of friends sat down. We're like, what do we like? We want to make shit. Let's talk about all the ideas that we have, and we'll pick out the best one and just work on that. And
Yeah.
one of our buddies was like, "No, I'm gonna play this game or whatever." We're like, "No, no, get the fuck over here! Like, sit, like
Yeah.
kumbaya in this fucking circle. Let's." And he whips out this fucking idea, and it was like, "Holy shit, bro! You were gonna just hold that? You were gonna hold this idea?" Because the premise
Yeah.
is mercenaries partnered with wolves. So through various means that are described in the book and more in detail in the comic,
Mm.
they're partnered with these wolves. They can see through the wolves' eyes and vice versa. They the shared kind of energy field or whatever you want to call it expands the wolves' lives because wolves are naturally shorter lived than us, but it also shortens the lives of the agents. And we have a dope thing which, for the few people that will listen to this podcast, I'm going to say it, and you'll either forget and be surprised when you read it in the comic, or you'll be one of the few people who know ahead of time. They are bonded in such a way psychically that when one of them dies, the other one loses their shit. So midst fight in one of the first few issues,
Yeah.
you see the example of that. I think one of the wolves gets shot, and the dude just collapses on the ground, like his partner agent, like just drops to the ground, fucking losing his head, like
Yeah.
because essentially like a part of him has just died.
Yeah. So they're basically like an extension of each other.
Yeah,
Then.
yeah, yeah. It's very much. I have a scene later on when there's like a attack thing. I don't know if you're a fan of Naruto, but like there's a Naruto run, like they jump through the trees and shit to
Uh-huh.
to line up to do the attack. That's like a big thing on Naruto. Like I've never actually I've seen like a couple shows. I've never watched the whole thing, but I know that like the tree running, the like kind
Oh
of
yeah.
the House of Flying Daggers kind of shit, where it's like
Yeah.
that kind of running, the running through the trees thing. That I was like, I want to do this, a little homage to the anime fans. But yeah,
That's
like
cool.
I think it's a really, it very much became a fight with myself, because like when we sat down, like we for like weeks, months even, we just like kept expanding it. We kept building out, like we came up with the search and rescue team and all these other things. And each team is paired with different things, different animals. Um, and I have some like subverting tropes thing. So like the research and development team are like big brolic dudes. They're like big dudes and they're partnered with gorillas. Uh, and
That's cool.
but they're like the R&D team. They're the ones that like tinker and come up with all the new toys and shit. Like they can still put down, they can still fight, but like that's not their primary focus. So it's like I have all these kind of little fun things. Um and I was sitting there staring at this and I was like, I don't fucking know how to pay for this. Like I'm trying to figure out like how to come up with the money. I was like, maybe I could like put the money together for like the first issue and then like use that to
Yeah.
like kickstart the rest or whatever. And then I was just like, well, can I move forward without an artist? And that's why I ended up writing a book, because a bunch of my new indie comic
Uh,
friends started with novels, and I was like,
yeah.
just write a fucking novel. But then instead of just novelizing that whole first run, I was like, what if I build this universe through these novels? And
Mm.
I had these ideas and various like backstory and prequel things, and I was like, well, instead of doing like one off or one shots to like show this, why don't I just write the fucking novel about that?
Yeah.
And the one I started with was the one I had like the least developed, which was random guy. I had no context about him. It was just like kind of Black Ops kind of guy, goes off to find shit about this organization. That's all I had to start with. So I wrote it through the magazine. I was just like, it was kind of like it all kind of coalesced at the same time. I was like, I'm gonna write the
Mhm.
story, but like if I say I'm gonna write the story, I need a reason to like write it. I need a
Yeah.
deadline, a date. So I'm like, why don't I do this fucking magazine? And I kind of like put myself out to these people who I'm going to feature in the magazine. Like, hey, I'm going to put this magazine out to feature your stuff. So like, I have to put this magazine out. So like, I have a
Yeah.
deadline. So I kind of held myself to that deadline, wrote the first chapter, and then it all kind of spiraled out on its own. Like that, I always say,
Oh,
like that
yeah.
story wrote itself. Like
Yeah.
had, I had no intentions of writing a romantic subplot. Lo and behold, there one appeared. like all this shit that happened, none of it was planned. I swear on everything.
Wow.
It kind of just all happened, and I was like, this is kind of awesome. And as I was writing it, I had this idea, because he like the idea is this guy is like a black ops like information guy, like uh somebody in the government or in the military hires him to go and like find this spec ops team that like is kind of a myth. Like no one actually believes this thing exists. But
Yeah.
he's like you're the fucking guy. You're gonna go and you're gonna find this information. And there's a scene where we finally ends up speaking with the informant, and I was like, oh, I'm gonna do this thing. It's like because it's set in the like backstory that's being told, the like information that's being provided is like from the 90s. And I was like, what if they tested the like beta version of this original team in Bosnia, in like the fucking
Oh, wow.
Bosnian war? And I was like, because like where like there's not a lot of fucking records of that shit. A lot of it happened in the fucking woods. If you dropped a small squad, a small covert squad into that fight, you could get him in and out, test out the fucking capabilities within the night. No one would fucking know. No one remember that shit. So I was
Yeah.
like, let's do that. So then I was like, oh, but that's like my connection point to it, right? That's how it's like
Yeah.
writing it, reading it back. I was like I feel that. And then I was like, well, I want that for other people. So then it's like I had this dude go to Brazil. So then I'm like pulling up Google Maps, pulling out like where is this
Oh,
guy
yeah.
gonna be? Where are they gonna have lunch? Like where is he having this
Yeah.
conversation? So it's like I want people to have these moments of like, hey, I know that place. And it's like
Mhm.
my buddy Ben, Frontier Forever, um, he's like, I'm from DC. He's like, so I read the part where about DC. I was like, that's fucking like that's exactly what I wanted.
Oh,
So
okay.
he's like, he read this part. He's like,
That's
he
dope.
was giving me feedback. He's like, yeah, he's like, if they were filming this, they'd pick like this other part because it's like more cinematic.
Yeah.
He's like, but like you picked the right one, like if you wanted to kind of be low key. And I was like, that's exactly what I was going for. So like, that park, and like that's why I went
Yeah.
there. So it's like he talks to this guy, like he like gets an Uber basically, and
Yeah.
he talked the driver's like from Chicago. So I was like, the driver is gonna be like, oh, I'm gonna tell him. The driver's gonna tell him to go to this joint, which I really enjoy. Like this place called Chicago's home of chicken and waffles. Like he's gonna send him there. He's like, if you're gonna go, get some eats. Like
Yeah.
so, like the people that have been to Chicago know like that's the shit. That's like I wanted to really have this kind of moment for everybody, or as many people as I think of, to
Yeah.
like, oh, there's this really cool thing, and it's like when he's in Brazil, he steps out of this building and he like looks out and he sees what's across the street, and he gets his bearings. He's like, how I know where I'm at. He's like,
Yeah.
I know what's there. I know where I am, geographically, and kind of like puts a lot of shit into context for him. So then I also went like a little deep into like car stuff, as like the one of the antagonists, let's call him, has this really dope car that he won't shut up about. So I was like,
Yeah.
I kind of like built out this thing, and then I had this literal spontaneous thing of who is this informant, and I realized that I had, like I said, all this stuff was kind of as I went, and I had not thought about this character, and I
Yeah.
was like, I don't have, I don't know if it's, I don't know gender or anything, and I was like, because the only time the character's been mentioned since then, or since I started, has been at the end of the previous chapter, and it's like when he says, I'm looking for this person,
Yeah.
and the other person says, I think I know them. And I wrote
Oh,
it that way because I didn't know. I didn't know what I was going to do. And I was like, maybe this
yeah.
guy doesn't know if this person is male or female. And then I was like, well, what if they're non-binary? So then
Yeah.
that's where I went. I was like, let me just write that. Not in any kind of in-depth way, but I was just like, why the fuck not? Like, it was very much like a nothing else defines this character's personality, or like this person doesn't have to be
Mhm.
gender binary. So I'm like, why can't they
Yeah.
be non-binary? Like, Like
Yeah.
nothing about this character requires them to be male or female specifically. So I'm like, why do they have to be either? So they say, fuck it. So it was very much a situation where I'm like, I'm trying to step out of my own comfort zone because like I can write dudes and I don't want to say I can very well write women, but I can present a
Yeah. Yeah.
reasonably characterized woman. But it's like I hadn't thought about how to present this. So I was like, let me write this as like this is an old head from the espionage game, and they left the institutionalized espionage because of who they are, and they decided instead of having to put on this front of a personality that they aren't, they said, "Fuck it, I'm out." And now they freelance. I was like, that seems like a reasonable thing for me. And hey, like if it's not received well, it's not received well, and we'll make
Yeah. No.
adjustments as
Yeah,
things
that
go.
makes sense. Yeah, that's dope, man.
But yeah,
Um,
I like that shit. But at the same time,
yeah,
like
yeah,
I write specific scenes, and I'm like, this person needs to be in this
yeah,
spot. Like
yeah,
it's all like the way shit comes out is very different. But like
yeah, yeah,
I'm hoping like editing for this has been insane. I'm really hoping that I'm almost done. Like I've got a bunch of people beta reading it.
yeah.
Um,
Sweet.
if people give me the kind of the thumbs up, we're gonna move forward. I'm
Oh,
fucking
sweet.
psyched, dude. I'm so psyched.
Yeah, I'm excited, man. That was the one that the novella that you sent me, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, cool. I'm gonna check that out.
Yeah, man. If
Super
it's
excited now that I get, your background on it. It makes, yeah, it helps helps to understand it more before you get into it. So,
for sure, man.
yeah, yeah,
There's a lot to it. Like it's 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 a very like the funny thing is, if you were to go and read the copy in the magazine, it's a
yeah,
completely fucking different story. Not completely, but like
yeah.
major beats are different. I changed the dude's name. Like I changed a lot of shit in this story
Oh
because it
yeah.
was very much like I went to editing. My friend who is a writer and an editor, like we sat for like 7 fucking hours going basically
Oh
line by
dang.
line, and more than once she was like, I really just want to rewrite this whole thing to show you how I'd write it. I'm like, that's not the point. The point is that I'm writing it in my voice. Like, let's just
Yeah,
work out the fucking problems.
yeah,
But she had some like great shit for me because like she's like, like I don't really understand who this dude is. Like, is he a government employee? Like, is he an agent? Like, what is he? I was like, he's an off the books kind of research guy. And she's like, all right, cool. Why is their first meeting in the Pentagon? And I was like,
yeah,
valid question, super valid question.
yeah,
So like I changed that entire first chapter, like essentially like where they meet, how they talk about, because like I had him walking into just traipsing into the fucking Pentagon. The fucking assistant knows him by name, and
oh yeah,
I'm like, yeah, that doesn't make sense, does it? Like if he's supposed to be a covert dude, like so it's like that's the kind of shit where I was like, that's the kind of feedback I love because I was like, it doesn't make sense. Yeah, I'm gonna
yeah,
change the shit out of that. Fuck that. And it's like then I when I paid for an editor last year, that was a little more brutal because like when shit costs money, it's like you want to get the most value out of it, like we talked about
yeah,
earlier. So it's like
yeah,
editing costs money. Then it's like I
yeah,
fixed some like tone things and little things that I like didn't think were that big a deal, but it's like yeah, when you rephrase it, like it definitely sounds better. Like
yeah,
there's something to it. Like there's something to like changing the way you're presenting certain shit. So it's like I really think it's in a good spot. There's like a couple more tweaks that need to be done, but I'm super psyched to if everything goes well, and I think by the
yeah,
end of April, if everybody's satisfied, because I don't need to be fucking perfect. I just want I'm very much a done over perfect person.
yeah,
So like if everyone's reasonably satisfied by the end of April, we're gonna move forward and we're gonna move to publishing because the only other thing I need to do right now is create the chapter art because I really wanted, I don't know why, but I really wanted to include chapter art.
yeah,
So I have these ideas of like these specific scenes that I want to show, that I want to
yeah,
visualize for people. Um, and like I like kind of made kind of a shitty version of one early on in the magazine. And then I was like, nah, I want like each chapter, I want them to have like a idea of what I'm thinking for this place.
yeah.
So that's where I'm going with that. So, but
Oh man, that sounds amazing.
ideally, like ready for print summer,
Yeah.
ideally.
Oh, that's dope, man. Yeah, I miss those books with illustrations in them too. You know, the ones that like they're like chapter books, but you get a little illustrated scene in there. And it gives you it gives you a taste of the world of the characters and
Yeah.
oh man.
Dude, it
So
plays
cool.
really well. I read 2050Z. If you haven't read it, you absolutely should. It's by J. Michael Primrose.
Okay.
Absolutely fantastic sci-fi book. 205Z. It's 2052, but it's with a Z. There's a reason for that in story. I don't want to ruin anything. But there's like a
Okay.
moment where I'm reading, and it's like a lot of the characters have been shown through chapter art, through just like pieces of art. And I'm reading, and like a new character is introduced, and I was like, this is a white dude. This is very like I'm getting white dude. I turned the page, white dude. I was like, I knew it. I fucking knew it was white dude. I was like, I knew. I had a feeling. This had a white dude feeling.
Oh, that's funny.
So it's a, but no, it's a great book. Really, really interesting. Like conceptually, like really, really dope stuff. Like great fucking read.
Oh, that's cool.
And
Yeah, I gotta check that out.
he's also just like such a dope dude, like on social media and everything. Like really interesting stuff. Like great stuff. Can't wait for more. He's very much somebody who I took some notes from because he had written a version of this. Well, not necessarily a version of this, but like a book set in this world
Yeah.
related to this earlier. And I was like, oh, I found this on Amazon. And he's like, please don't read it. He's like, please do not read that. It's like he's like, it's an old version. So much has been reworked. I wouldn't want you to have that be your first. I was like, all right, that's fair. So like that kind of gave me in my head like the permission to be like, I'm gonna put this out, and if like 2-3 years from now I think it sucks, I just make a new version of it.
Yeah.
I can
Yeah.
just read it like it's like,
Yeah.
especially in the digital age, nothing's fucking permanent. It
Yep.
doesn't have to be like you can make mistakes. You can go out and put shit out that's just okay or like not great. Like sometimes stuff is gonna be shitty, but it's like
Yeah.
the I hate to use some of the fucking terminology of these gurus, the YouTube gurus, but it's like you put that publish, press publish, you put that shit out there, you're gonna get feedback. And that's the most important part. The like
Mhm.
real world consumer feedback, if you want to call it that way, this shit's important. Because it's like
Yeah.
you're gonna show your friend. Like my wife is a little brutal, so like I trust her words, but
Yeah.
like a lot of in a lot of situations, especially if people are not like in the creative field, your friends are gonna be like, "Oh, it's great."
Hmm.
Like that, their feedback is gonna be it's great, or
Yeah.
not necessarily because they looked at it from a critical perspective, because they're happy for you to be making things that you want to make.
Hmm.
So it's like, have you personally experienced anything like that? Has anyone read your stuff and been like, "Oh, it's awesome," but like other people have been like, "Hey, like maybe this, maybe that."
Yeah. I mean, like, yeah, sometimes like, yeah, like what you said, when you show it to your friends and family, obviously it like because you already have history with them and relate relationships with them. Um, I don't know the real friends and the real family. They'll give you honest feedback,
Truth.
and they'll say, yeah, they'll say what's on their mind. But it is always helpful to just get someone else's perspective on it that you don't know that and sometimes not even people who don't even like sci-fi or something like that. I mean that may even be more helpful because then you can uh look at all the plot holes or whatever, all the things that you need to fix, and then just be like, okay, cool. But yeah, there have been a couple people who I've been lucky to have, um, and they've helped me like say what like what it could use, and like I don't know. But I think Vishal, uh, my partner on the Deep Theory, he's the most constructive because I mean obviously we both work on our stuff together, but like he's able to understand you do have to set yourself apart from being a creator and a reader and a
Yeah,
viewer, you know,
for sure.
because if you don't do that and you're just all creation, then you get lost in your world. But then you do have to take a step back and then see it from the outsider's perspective of not knowing any information of that story. And then so once you do take a step back and you're like, okay, you read into it and you're like, okay, if I was a reader reading into this and, you know, like this happens, but then it's like you kind of see an arc, you know, like if you are a visual person, you kind of see it as whatever you see it as, but like I'll see it as an arc of where, okay, this is a good part and it, you know, it rises and then it kind of dies down, but I want it to like come back up or something. But yeah, I mean, man, those people are the most valuable though, because you really can't find those are honest people. And it is hard to find. So recently I did read another one of my writer friends' novels. And I mean, I'm like super lucky to have him because he's guided me in writing too. Like when I started writing short stories, and so yeah, and then so I was able to just give my honest feedback to him, and it doesn't hurt any relationship because as long as you're honest, I mean, if anything, it makes it better. You know what I mean?
Right. Right. For
Because like
sure.
you get like for the other person, they want honest feedback. That's the reason why they give it to you. So that's why I've like, and I've seen also with our experience with our editor on Deep Theory. um I love him. Like I love the way he edits our stuff because he's just so brutal that like it it takes away, you're not hurt by it. You just see it as, okay, this is all the stuff that could make my story so much better, you know,
Yeah.
instead of looking at it like, oh man, this guy doesn't like, you know, all this stuff and so I have to do all this work now. Like if you look at it that way, then you kind of ruin your chances of making something great. But if you look at it where you're just like, oh wow, this is an opportunity to really pull something special together, put something special together and put it out there. That's why like our editor for Deep Theory, like I highly value his work, and because he always just puts it out there. But he basically recently said, you know, because we're undergoing our editing process for issue 3, and
Oh,
I was like super excited about it, and there's a lot of stuff that I'm attached to in it, and so after we got the notes back, I'm like, okay, he actually liked it, and it was like that's very cool because he doesn't give a lot of compliments. So,
nice.
and then, but the thing was is that there was key things that we had to fix in it, and so once I got back to him about certain changes, I said, "What about this? What about that?" Then he was like, "Well, he said you have to look at it this way. You can either put something out there right now, if that's what you want to do, or you can take time with it and become better writers." And so that was like a big,
Ooh.
you know, a big piece of wisdom is that when you are a writer or a creator, uh, you know, the truth is that if you put something out there, that's one way of learning. You know, it's not to say that you're putting something weak out there because it could be, you know, really strong. You could have a lot of talent and just do one thing all your life and then keep doing it and they're all hits. But like for most people, you have to keep working on it, and that's like really how you become a better writer. You just spend more time with it, you know, and like it sucks, but eventually you're gonna have to keep cutting stuff out and keep scrapping stuff. But when you put stuff together that actually matches your vision that that you have in your head, then it hits because you're looking for what hits, you know, like you're looking for what hits in your heart, and that's the stuff that you want. It's like it's weird, you know, like you can read a story and then you know, or you can read stuff yourself that you've created yourself, and you're like, man, either it's good or it's, you know, just like subpar, or but you really want to like get it to the point of where it's just like, whoa, that could be something really good, because then you can have other people come in and help you, you know, like soup it up and
Yeah,
just
yeah.
like, yeah. Uh, but yeah, it's just about like getting there, and getting to that point and really taking a step back. But yeah, oh man, but it's
No,
fun, you know.
I
It's
I
always
feel that,
fun.
dude. I feel that when I wrote, like I said, when I wrote that script for the first arc of the comics, that was a situation where, you know, I'd written this outline however many years ago, and I'd planned for a traditional floppy 22-page issue, you know. And I'm sitting there, you know, on page 3, finished with the exposition, and I was like, I had another page and a half space planned out for this exposition. So I was sitting there, it's like, do I expand it? Do it, like, what do I do? Like, I could fluff it out and make them kind of take longer, but I'm like, that doesn't make sense. Like, this guy is like the boss of a mercenary
Mhm.
organization. He's not gonna waste words. He's gonna say, go do this fucking job because I fucking said so. Like,
Yeah,
that's the job. Go do it. Period. Here's the information. Go. Like, there's no need for fluff. There's no need for back and forth. Like that. This is a tightly wound organization. Like, you do what you're told. Like, this is, you know. So I was like, fuck it. So for like 3 days, I'm like, how do I do this? Like, do I expand a fight scene? Like, what do I do with this? And then it really hit me, like yourself. I wanted to put this book out digital first. And I was
mhm.
like, the digital space doesn't care how many pages it has.
Yeah,
And then that kind of reframed the whole thing for me. And I was like, well, I'm just going to write it until this issue's done, like my plan for
yeah,
this issue. So that ended up being 10 pages. So then with that mindset, I went into issue 2 and writing that, and that ended up being 10 pages. So what ended up happening is I had 5 issues of 10 pages and a 15-page final issue.
oh nice.
That's tight. It reads quick. Like, I really thought it paced well, like the
Yeah,
way, and I was like, shit, this is kind of good. And that's
it's
why, like, when I show it to people, when I show it to artists and shit, and people, they're like, you got to make this. And that's a great, like, that's a genuinely great feeling, because it's
yeah,
like I'm showing them one page and they're like, oh, this already feels dope. You need to make this book. It's like,
yeah,
shit, all right, fuck. Like, I really got to push forward with this. But it's like having it be at that position where, like, I read it like 3 or 4 times, you know, after I finished it. And I was like, fuck, this is good. Like, this is, I enjoy reading this. So I'm like, I feel like people will enjoy reading this. And like you said, you really got to put yourself in that reader mindset. Cause like when I was editing my novella, I don't know where my physical copy is, but like I had a physical copy and I went through page by page,
yeah,
you know, essentially line by line, like reading it as if I was reading it for the first time. Cause I knew that if I just like sat down and read a PDF,
hmm,
I would just like get into reading it. And I was reading it and like putting my own context into it because I know more about the
yeah,
universe. So
yeah,
like, I was like, I'm going to flip a physical page and I'm going to look at this line by line. What am I missing? What is wrong? What do I need to rewrite? Because like if I read a physical piece of paper and
yeah,
it's like, here is this paragraph, and I'm like something's wrong, like something's weird about this. And I reread that
yeah.
physical paragraph. You know, I don't have this like kind of we're all kind of built in, like keep scrolling, right? Even on
Keep
news.
scrolling. Yeah,
Yeah. So it's like I don't have this physical, like I really have to physically hold this thing. So like if I read a
yeah,
physical piece of paper, I'm gonna reread that like paragraph, even if I'm like, I know something's weird about this, but if I'm scrolling, I'm gonna keep going, thinking like
yeah.
I'll come back to it or whatever. But it's like, how often do you actually come back to anything where you're like, this is
Yeah.
weird? It's like I
It's
have so many.
yeah, it's totally different experience. Like physical, when you're flipping pages, it just feels good, and like the way your brain processes the information, as opposed to like what you said about scrolling, because your mind just automatically knows that okay, I can just keep going here. But in the physical, yeah, it's just like you read it in different lights too. So yeah,
Yeah, you're right. You're right. That's a good point. That's a good point. Yeah, it all matters. Like
yeah, it all
we
matters.
don't think about this stuff. Like we don't think about the like like the context of everything matters. So
Yeah.
like the color of the paper, the like the environment you're in. You know, like I've
Mhm.
been in an environment, like it's funny. Like a lot of people write in Starbucks, right? That's like the kind of classic thing. Like that's where people go to
Yeah.
write novels.
Yeah.
I can't fucking get anything done at Starbucks.
I can't either. Yeah.
I can't get
The same way.
shit done at Starbucks. I'm sitting there and I'm
Too
like people
distracting.
watching and I'm listening to like
Yeah.
because I'm always hearing what people are saying. So I'm just like, oh,
Yeah.
like so then it's like I hear a fraction of a conversation and it's like, what does that mean? Right. So like your brain is like occupied. So like I can't
Yeah.
focus. Like I tried. I for like a few months, I was there used to be a Starbucks right down the street. So I was like, I'm gonna try to like double dip, right? So I'm gonna walk there, get a little workout in. I'm gonna walk there, sit there. I get the mug of coffee, so I can't just throw it away. It's something I physically have to interact with,
Yeah.
and it's like free refills. So you know, so like I'm gonna sit there. I'm gonna drink a bunch of coffee. I'm gonna write, and I brought like the like least capable computer I put together. Like I put together like a little Linux machine,
Oh,
super
nice.
bare bones, like
Yeah.
nothing. Like it couldn't play games to save its life. Like could barely go on the internet. Like I put an SD card in it. That's where my fucking stories were. Because I was at the time,
Basically like a typewriter.
yeah, like I was trying to
Yeah.
minimize the least I could get out of it, the better. And
Yeah.
at the time, I was trying to write for NaNoWriMo. I don't know if you know what that is.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
National Novel Writing Month in
Cool.
November. So I was trying to like crack this out. Like I'm gonna go there daily, right? And I couldn't do it. It couldn't like I couldn't get shit done. Like first couple days, like I was focused on that, but then the next couple days, like I'd be listening to the conversation. I listened to the order.
Yeah.
Or somebody would be ordering for like more than what I felt was like a reasonable amount of time. They're like, "What the fuck is on this order?" They're like, "How many fucking cups of coffee do they need?" So it's like other
Oh
shit
my
would just get
God.
into your head. So I
Yeah.
can't, so like the environment matters, super, super matters. Like that's part
Yeah.
of what, like I was reading 2050Z here and I could not fucking move forward in it. Like I'd read a
Mm.
couple pages and then just all my shit is here. My computers are downstairs. My games are here.
Yeah.
Everything is here. So I never had the like bandwidth to read here.
Yeah.
And when I started my new job last year, I like we have a little downtime here and there, and I was sitting there and I was like, what if I brought a book?
Oh, cool. Yeah.
And then I finished that book in a week.
Oh, dang.
Because like I'd have 10 minutes, 15 minutes, but it's like 15 uninterrupted minutes because everybody else got
Yeah.
their own shit to do. So
Yeah.
no one's like really fucking with you. So I'm just like
Yeah.
fucking flipping through shit. And that's why I started on TikTok. I do this roll to read series where I've got, I got all these books behind me. I haven't read half the shit. But it's like I I get like a little overwhelmed by like which do I pick? Like what do I
Yeah.
pick? Do I just like go trust the X-Men on this shelf? Do I go like kind of Marvel indie, mini indie, or do I go like self-publish over here? Like what do I pick? Right. So it's like it's this overwhelming thing, but I was like, fuck it. What if I just leave it up to the fucking universe? So I read a bunch of shit that I hadn't read for either in a long time or shit
Yeah.
that I had Monstrous. It's a series from Image. I had at the time I had 5 volumes. I had only read the first volume.
Oh, wow.
So I read the other 6 volumes or the other
Oh,
4 volumes or whatever. So then when I got to 5, I found out that 6 and 7 had come out. So I went to my local comic shop and I ordered 6 and 7. So it was like this whole kind of cascade of things. Like I read Lock and Key.
yeah.
So good, very uncomfortable for an issue, incredibly uncomfortable for an issue.
Oh,
uh, 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 there's a race swap in it, and there's just no way around that. Like, there's a
oh,
magical race swap in it, and I was like, "What the fuck is happening right now?"
yeah.
Uh, but that was also around the time when I found out that the guy who wrote that is the son of Stephen King.
Oh, what's his name? Hill? Something Hill.
Yeah, whatever. But
I
yeah,
thought it was
I think
Jonah Hill.
Joe Hill.
Joe Hill. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I think it's Joe Hill. But yeah, so like I found out, I was like, okay, I understand like the supernatural kind of elements to it. Like I get where that's coming from. But like when that issue hit, I was like, because like there's this mirror and she gets this mirror and it's like, I'm like, this isn't about to do what, because it's like she had this like brilliant idea. And I was like, oh no, this isn't going where I think it's going. And then it went there and I was like, ah, come on. Like literally like puts on literally just puts on blackface, like
Yeah.
becomes the little black girl to go like for subversion purposes, not for any noble purpose, but like to go lie to someone fucking, oh god, like I've read the rest of that series, like really good series. That issue will not leave my brain because I was like, why the fuck would you write this? Like there,
Oh yeah,
you are a writer. The whole point is to come to these kinds of problems and come up with clever ways to
yeah,
get around them, not this. Like,
yeah.
well, to get this old black woman to do what she wants, she's gonna turn to a little black girl, pretend to be her niece or whatever. I was like, oh my god, no.
Uh,
Well, like anyway, yeah. So like I read, that's how I started reading, but it's like the environment you're in, like the fact that I had those moments of like I could just read, and it's like I read
yeah.
through so much shit. I recently read the fucking uh, uh Squadron Supreme hardcover omnibus thing, which like hadn't even thought, like that was a very interesting way to like put together an omnibus because it was like the entire tale throughout like decades of storytelling.
Okay.
I was like really interesting. Read Anomaly, which is like I don't know if you were in the con circuit at all, but for like 3 years at every convention, Brian Haberlin's Anomaly Studios was there with the Anomaly. It was like ultra widescreen fucking book, hardcover, but they
Oh
were all
wow.
about AR. Like you could point your phone at it, different pages, and it would like make the spaceship, and you'd see it in 3D, and
Oh
some of the
okay.
creatures, and all this. Like it was a very like they were really really pitching AR, and this was like years ago. This was like 2016, 15. Like this was
Oh
years
wow.
ago. That's what
Yeah.
I'm saying. Like they were kind of like I want to say really like genuinely felt like they were pioneers in the space. And and I bought the first book from them and never fucking read it because it's so fucking wide. You know, I'm like, this is gonna be like a monumental challenge to read because it really felt daunting just holding it. So
Yeah.
what I ended up doing is I bought like a book stand for work, and so like because it'll hold the pages open. So I was like, I'm gonna bring this motherfucking honking thing to work, and I'm gonna read this. So I ended up hitting like a wild card, and I was like, you know what? I just brought this book stand. I'm fucking reading Anomaly, and it's like
That's so
read it. It
funny.
was an easy read. That's the fucked up part. The actual
Yeah.
story reads very easily. Um, I was thoroughly disappointed with the art, which is kind of crazy, like knowing Brian Haberlin's worked with like Jay Anceletto, and like Jay Anceletto is one of my favorite artists like all time.
Oh,
Like Aria to date is still like one of the most beautiful books you can read.
hmm.
Very like it feels Fey. Like it's all about her being like having
Hmm.
Fey ancestry, but it feels that way. Like the way they did
Yeah.
his art, the way that like everything about it is really, really. So it's like knowing he worked with him, that he went to this like mid-grade Photoshop painted style.
Oh,
I was like, but like the story was intriguing enough where I was like, I kind of, and I forgive it. Like I'm very much something has to keep me going in this. And if
yeah.
the art is doo-doo, which it happens even on major books. Like there is an issue of X-Men where they like let like 4 different artists do the work, like different pages. It's
Yeah.
like incredibly different art styles. So like shit doesn't even look right next to each other.
Yeah.
But like a couple of them are bad, just outright bad. And but like the story in that book is so fucking good that I like don't care.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
just don't care. Like
That's
it
awesome.
happens. It happens. Like
Yeah.
you know, it all the context of it matters. As to I kind of brought that back. I kind of read
Yeah.
that back together to context, the context of the story. But it's like yeah, very much like here, like when you're at home, anything you want to try to
Yeah.
do, like if you're in an environment that you're going to get easily distracted, it's going to be hard. Like
Yeah.
whether it's writing or it's fucking like editing. I did most of my editing at work, most of it. Again,
Oh
I
wow.
had those downtimes. I could just focus on this piece of paper in front of me and look at, is something missing, is something misspelled, whatever. Whereas here, you know, if I'm looking at a piece of paper here, out of the corner of my eye, I see my sketchbook, I see my computer, all this other stuff
Yeah.
that is like a little more entertaining, a little more, you know,
Exactly.
your brain is
Yeah.
like, no, just stimulus, give me stimulus.
Yeah. That's exactly. Yeah. That's so true.
I wanted
Um.
to ask, you said that you are in editing for Deep Theory 3.
Yeah.
Um, Deep Theory 1 was about evolution,
Yeah.
hallucinogens, lots of very interesting themes. Very good book. I don't know if we ever
Oh,
should
thank
talk
you.
about it since I read it, since it came out. I know I had you on the podcast before it came out. I don't think you've been on since.
Oh yeah.
So, I do want to say, great fucking book. Love it.
Oh, thank
Great
you.
read. Very I don't want to ruin it for anybody. Although usually we do this as a full spoiler podcast. I don't want to ruin it for anybody because it's a great fucking read. Uh, I was a little disappointed with like the greater context of it because I was like, oh man, like, I
Oh,
really
like what? Yeah, what
the
kind of
like like her backstory, like her
Oh,
like
okay.
backstory. Like
Yeah.
I was like, ah man, like I really wanted this to be like a romance thing, like
Oh, yeah.
but like
Oh
no,
man.
great fucking book, great fucking book.
Yeah.
Like the surprise extra chapter, I didn't even know that shit was in there. Like I guess I didn't probably didn't read the Kickstarter. I'll be honest with you. Certain shit I don't like. Certain shit, especially if it's like if it's like at a kind of I don't want to like I feel like I'm coming from a place of privilege when I say this, and I probably am. But like there is a price point on Kickstarter which I don't read the Kickstarter for, and I'm like, that's pretty. $5 sell, like
Yeah.
go, like
Yeah.
10 up.
Yeah.
I'm kind of I'm in at a certain price point. I'm like, let's go. so
Yeah.
so for me, like I may not have read the whole Kickstarter, but like yeah, no, there was the extra story with like a different artist, which I thought was really cool. Really good art. I actually really like the artist in the second part of that.
Oh,
Um,
cool. Right on.
like really like top to bottom, man. Really, really great fucking book.
Oh, thank you.
Uh
Um,
issue 2 you said is about
yeah.
wait, I have it.
Yeah.
Sleep paralysis. Oh, I found it. I
Yes.
found it. I
Good
found it. I
job. Yeah.
found it. Sleep paralysis.
That was good.
What is the genre or theme of 3? Get a little
Um,
exclusive content here.
yeah. Um, I mean, we're excited about it. It's about time travel, actually.
Oh,
Yeah, so it has time travel and it deals with the grandfather paradox. Um,
okay.
and obviously, okay, so time travel, for one thing, is a very complicated thing. And
It doesn't
it,
have to be. I came up with a solution, but go on.
yeah, it doesn't have to be. And uh, yeah, so, but like just thinking of like, of all the different ways you just keep going back in a circle all the time. And that's why it's a paradox, is because and then like in my mind I came up with these other arguments where it wasn't a paradox, where it just people were just blowing it up as a paradox, and then so we started believing that it was a paradox. But um I came up with all these different points about it, and then I was like, wow, that makes total sense that it's not a paradox, and you can actually just go back and change something because well, I have them all written down, but um there's so many different ways of like time travel that but the one that we're going with is time travel through consciousness. So it's not a physical time travel.
Okay, so
Um
it's Days of Future Past.
yes, and
You're
it's
sending
also
consciousness back. Okay.
yeah. What was
To
that
a
other
is it I mean, I don't want to like kick off. I don't want to like reveal too much about that issue, but
Yeah.
let's say is it back to a previous version of yourself, or like more quantum leap style, like you're just going back in time and just jumping into a random body?
Yeah.
'Cause I think
So
that's an because I think that's an interesting one too. Because like
oh
I
man.
quantum leap is such a like old school. The fact that they revived it, like honestly, super exciting. I haven't watched it yet, but I
Yeah.
really want to. But like the old school, I remember watching that like back in the day, and like shit was great.
Oh yeah. Oh, that was that was part of the research too, actually. Looking at watching a few of the old episodes of Quantum Leap. Um, and man, you touched on really good points because that's like, oh my gosh, dude. Like
Hey man,
now I
this is my
yeah.
space. Sci-fi, that's my shit.
Yeah. Like
I've
I
thought
can't
about time travel probably more than anyone should.
and that's good. That's good for us too to talk about it, and maybe we can have another conversation of to get some inspiration. But it's I can't spoil anything
No, that's
because
fine.
that
That's fine.
we do get into more of the territory of like uh it is also like going back to a memory, but at the same
Ooh,
time
okay.
not being able to change because um so the idea is that personalities, right? like people have these personalities that sometimes can change, but there's always a deeply rooted thing in someone that you can't change them, and they're always going to choose like a certain make a certain decision, or they're always going to have certain beliefs on a stance on something. And the idea is that personalities are like fixed points in time where you go back in time, you try to change a person, but you end up like, and then you go back to the present and you realize that, wow, like everything I did to try to change that person was all a part of their personality. So they're like, but like, yeah, so the fixed points in time thing was just that phrase right there was like from Doctor Who. I don't You've seen like what the one with Matt Smith in like 20 kind of
I
2010.
saw one episode of the Matt Smith one, and I've
Yeah.
seen a ton of clips of the other ones, but I don't really.
Oh, okay.
I'm a fucking asshole completionist. I want to watch from the first Doctor, but the
Yeah.
problem with that is that a lot of that shit is gone. Like it literally doesn't exist.
Oh, wow.
There's it's such a wild history, but they used to literally just destroy media for the sake of space. So
Oh
like
no. That's terrible,
the
dude.
first or second series, or the second series, I think is completely gone. Like there's just none of it exists. So like I think they have some of the scripts or whatever. So like some of it they've been recreating in animation. Some of it they've been like some of it is like the old footage, but they've like somewhat upgraded it. Like, dude,
Yeah.
it's such an interesting backstory to that. But yeah, but a lot of I don't want to say a lot, but like a good I think I want to say like 100+ episodes of Doctor Who are just lost to time because it's
Oh
like
man.
it's literally like if you weren't there, you will never get to experience it. They have
Yeah.
re-released certain things with like some things they have like the film for, so like they've re-edited it, recut it together, and adding like animation or whatever to like kind of fluff it out. Some of them, one of the shows or one of the episodes, not episodes, arcs. Like I guess in the old one they had more arcs. Like they had like 2 or 3 episodes would make like a story,
Oh,
uh,
I see.
which is ironic because like that was very much like that was not the standard back in that day, right? Like that was not in the
Oh,
'60s. It was very much like
yeah.
like story of the week.
Episodic.
Yeah, it was very
Uh,
episodic. Like there was not
yeah.
very many ongoing stories, but like because when I looked at it, it's like they have recreated some of these like kind of pivotal stories. So
Yeah.
like from this first series, you can watch like two two of the stories, but like in one of them they completely substituted one episode with animation. In another of the stories, they reshot it completely with an
Oh, wow.
entirely new cast, like kind of like try to match people up and stuff. But like but it was like it was an
That's
episode that it was one of the like few episodes that did not feature the Doctor Who. He
yeah.
wasn't in it. It was like a story about I think the Daleks or uh
Oh, yeah.
one of the other like characters. So it was like he wasn't in it. So she's like, luckily, this episode that they needed to recreate doesn't include the main dude. So it was like they
Yeah.
kind of recreated it. It's there's so much very
Wow.
interesting shit about that. But no, yeah, time travel is like the key points in time that you're referring to. Like I think that they touched on that in they touch on that in Marvel a lot. These like they call them Nexus points, Nexus events on
Mm.
the was it Loki season 1. I don't know if you watched, but like that's some research for your ass. Like that's very much
Oh, okay.
that moves from a very fixed uh managed timeline. That's the important part of that one, is that it is
Managed.
a managed time. Like someone is actually making sure it stays one timeline,
Mhm.
as opposed to like a multiverse in that show. So like that is yeah, that brings up a lot of talk about nexus points, like shit that cannot be changed, like shit that's going to happen
Yeah.
regardless. Like
Yeah.
no matter what, you like Pompeii, right? Like, you can go back and you could kill half the city of Pompeii. The fucking
Mhm.
the volcano's still going to erupt, and that city still goes to ash. So like it doesn't
Yeah.
matter. Like it doesn't affect anything, right?
Yeah.
Like like there'll be more, like there'll be different questions, like for historians, but like end of the day, unless they find a gun
Yeah.
Like, like you haven't done anything to upset like the timeline. That's kind of
Yeah.
what they go with. So they touch on that. A lot of it's disasters because it's like, a whole civilization or a whole planet explodes or whatever. Like that's the thing they go with. It's like those are their like nexus points. They're like fixed points that can't be changed. But
Huh. Yeah.
I like what you said there is like the person like personalities being kind of fixed because it is one of my favorite Jay-Z quotes. Is like I always forget the first part, but I feel like it's like, yeah, you can change, but that's just the top layer. You are who you were before you got here. Like, so
Oh,
no
okay.
matter what you do, like your shit, like you could change your habits, right? But like at your core, you
Yeah.
are the person you have always been. And
That's good.
I think it like rings very true because it's such a like a weirdly introspective thing. Like you have to really think about it
Yeah.
because we lie to ourselves all the time, right?
Yeah.
It's like I've
Yeah.
done this, I've made these changes in my life, I'm so much this, that, or the other thing. End of the day, like if you're a shitty friend, no matter how much work you do, like if that's like just kind of who you are, it might be smaller things, it might be fewer things, it might be, but it'll still be who you are. Like you might
Yeah.
be, oh, I call my friend once a week, but are you calling all of your friends? Or like, is it like, have you like done this grand thing for one person to be like, no, I'm a good friend. See,
Yeah.
like what is the thing you're doing to like make up for it? Like there are many things that I am, but like I'm a lazy dude. So
Yeah.
like as much as I am, efficient with things or whatever, I'm a lazy dude. That just is a thing. Like my wife literally messaged me, I think it was Sunday or whatever, no, Friday, because I was at the comic convention. She messaged me, and it's this pile of rags. It's like shit that had been washed that I had just put down on the ottoman in my basement and didn't put away. And she's like, it's really hard to
Yeah.
like know what's clean when you do this shit. I was like, oh no, those are clean. They've been cleaned for like 3 weeks. I'm just fucking lazy. Like it's like 18 feet, dude. I could have done it 100 million
Yeah.
times by then, but it's like I just didn't. It's just like it's there. I know where it is. If I need a rag, it's right there. Like
Yeah.
they're like cleaning rags. It's like it's completely unimportant. So like, it's like
Yeah.
at
That's so
some
funny.
level, no matter what you do, no matter how much you accomplish, like for me,
Yeah.
I'm gonna get a bunch of shit done in my life. But end of the day, I'm still gonna prefer someone else do it for me.
Yeah.
like, that's why like a lot of people like they complain about shit costing money or whatever. I was like, y'all don't understand the power of convenience. Like convenience is so powerful. Like especially
Yeah.
like because a lot of people are like me. A lot of people are like me by choice. Like I'm just who I am by the way I am. But like I've said many times I would rather pay someone to do so like I like even the writing shit, right? I was talking to Ben about this. I was like, I would pay someone to do the actual typing.
Yeah.
I could tell the story. I could pitch you all the ideas, dude. We could go all day and
Yeah.
all night. I will tell you everything that happens, scene by scene, beat by beat. I do not want to press the keys.
So funny.
So like for me, a lot of that is just like the actual. I have written the next two chapters of the current story that I'm doing in the magazine as I've been talking. Like as in the car, I've just like been like talking it out
Okay.
to myself, to nobody else. Just
That's
like I
crazy.
played out this because it's like I this new story that I'm doing is going to be a completely free release for everybody. And it is my answer to everything. So for anyone who's writing, who has an idea, who has a concept, and it's like you have uh, um, like a prophecy or like an ancient magical whatever, it could be a weapon or artifact or whatever. And it's like if anyone ever asks you what like where did it come from, like what's the origin of that thing,
Yeah.
you just say the armory. I am explaining everything away. I'm explaining all plot holes away for any mystical object or relic or whatever the fuck you want to call it by just saying I'm
The
creating the
armor.
story. I'm literally calling it Deus Ex. That's the name of the story because it is
Oh.
it is literally
Yeah.
like it is the God in, right? It's God. Oh, that's actually because that's God from the machine, right? Deus Ex Machina is God
Yeah.
from the machine. So it's whatever the thing is, like the thing, sword, amulet, whatever the fuck. If you don't have, like, if you don't want to come up with an origin point, and you just want to like gloss over that in your story, and anyone ever asks you, you just say it comes from the armory. I want this thing
Yeah.
to become so ubiquitous that like anyone can just be like, and now this person in this story has this sword or whatever gun or whatever the fuck special thing they need. Like, I want it to be a way for people to just introduce plot devices with no need for an explanation.
Yeah.
So the premise is I've already started, like, I think the last issue had the first, I've got the last two issues had the first two chapters. So and then this next one, I'm going like really, really deep into like the framework of it, but it's essentially before all of the existing realities. So all the
Oh,
various concepts that everyone has, there was one reality where everything happened. It all happened. Everything that has been thought of and will has not been thought of. It all happened there. So whatever the fuck like thing you come up with, it happened there. But because of that, eventually that universe just fucking imploded. But
oh,
amidst that, this family had just started collecting shit. Like some shit would happen. Like, fucking ice giants would have a big ass fight. One of them fucking lays out dead. A giant ice axe is in the middle of the field. They're like, we should keep that. Like, that's just, it's like their impulse to just collect shit. So like
yeah.
as they go on, their collection grows and grows and grows, and to the point where like thousands of years into that universe's, the first universe's future, they
Oh,
develop a way to store this shit outside of time space. So it's just this infinite armory of all the shit they've collected over
oh,
eons. And then eventually that universe collapses. They all retreat to that armory and they're like, we're really fucking bored. And then like the like multiverse, the omniverse, the megaverse, whatever the fuck you want to call it, starts
mhm.
forming. Just universes upon universes upon universes. And then like some of the artifacts start like resonating to certain
Mhm.
universes. And they're like, oh shit, we should just go drop these off because they seem to like go there. So like in this original universe, there were Norse gods and there was Merlin and there was, everything. It all happened. But in some universes, Merlin was real. There were no Norse gods. In some universes, XYZ other thing happened. There was no Merlin. It's all fiction. Right. So it's like, however you want to structure your universe, and
Yeah.
if you need a weapon or like a object or something, because this all came from me coming up with a story about this girl who has this pair of katanas that she gets by performing a specific kata, and it literally like she reaches into wherever they are, and like she doesn't know where they are, but she reaches into like a space where they exist, pulls them out, and that's her like way to get the, and like it gives her a little bit of power or whatever. But I haven't even written out that story, but I just couldn't let go of this, like, where the fuck are these swords at? Like in my head I was like, where are these fucking swords? And it's
Yeah.
like, even so, it's like her amulet gives her access to them, but who made this fucking amulet? So it's like
Yeah.
that all just spiraled into this idea of like, how do I explain, like, if someone asks me, because I'm a fucking like process guy, I need to know how and why it works.
Yeah.
So like I'm like, how, if someone like let's say this thing blows up and it's a movie one day, someone's like, where did this amulet come from? I need an answer. so so I was like, let's backtrack, how do we fix this? And that's how I came up with this armory. Yeah, so it's just Deus Ex. That's the story that's running right now. I'm explaining it, and they're like, once I thought of that, all these other ideas that I'd come up with really blossomed, because I was like, this
Oh,
shit
nice.
can be really cool. Because there was an episode of Charmed where like their magic like ran rampant, and a bunch of like rando normies got fucking powers,
Yeah.
like they got magical powers. And I was like, what if some shit happened and people like could like walk through parts of like certain places, had like
Yeah.
you had powers, but only in that space.
Mm.
It's like you could do some shit, but like only in a 2-foot radius. or whatever. But like different size spaces, right? Some are really little and they're like at children's heights, and like dogs
Yeah.
sometimes have wings just because they fucking want to fly, but then as soon as they leave that field, they don't.
Yeah.
So it's like that, just that it was like an idea I had, but then I was like, how did that happen again?
Yeah.
But once I came up with this, I was like, I came up with this whole backstory. I recorded it. It's terrible. I'll never reveal that video. But I came up with this idea that this one dude, one of the dudes in this family, was just like sick of putting all these fucking artifacts into their universes, and he was stuck with this last one. He couldn't find the right world for it, and he was like, "Fuck it, I really like this world. I'm gonna stay here." And he fucking hides this thing, and it's like basically a sphere of magic that's meant to like release magic into the world. And he's like, I'm gonna fucking park this bitch here in Atlantis. No one touch this fucking box. I swear to God, I'll kill you all if you touch this fucking box. And it's like, advanced fucking magic and technology. He gets a notification, someone's trying to fuck with the box, and he's the reason Atlantis disappears because he fucking blows it up. He's like, I told you I would fucking kill you all. Like, I will not fuck with this. You cannot open this fucking box because it's not meant for that world. And he doesn't know what will happen. So, and so he finds out that Atlantis has sunk into the fucking ocean, and he's like, somebody's gonna find that shit someday. So he records this message. So I played this dude in a real shitty makeshift toga because he's in like ancient Greek times. And he's like telling a descendant of his, like, hey, if you ever see this video, that means someone found that fucking box. And I don't know what's about to happen, but some shit is about to happen. I just want you to know that. So that's kind of like where I was like, this is like this box is gonna open up. They're gonna fucking find the sphere. It's gonna wildly release magic into the world in a world that's not built for magic. So there's just gonna be these pockets where people are gonna be able to do wild shit, but only in that space. I'm just like, and it's like that's another story where I'm like, I want to fucking put that out for free and like let people run rampant with it, because it's like it's one of those things like certain stories I feel like I really need to architect it, like the big one, right? The long running 100 fucking plus issue thing, which like once I actually sit down and write it, maybe it won't be 100 issues, but like however long it's gonna be, there are so many specific beats that I want to hit and so many specific things that when I came up with them in like 8th grade, 7th grade, the shit was low-key like weirdly racist in some parts because I was a dumbass kid and I didn't know better. So, but I want to explore that and fix that. And the shit that is good, that I think is really fucking interesting, I want to fucking spotlight that. So like once I have all that done, like I want to architect that story. But like other things, I have so many fucking ideas. I have scenes that I just want to I want to get it out there. If somebody's like missing a fucking scene, if anyone's trying to do some shit with like nanotech, I got a whole ass run of scenes for you. Please take it. I think they're dope scenes, but I don't know what to do with them. it's like I would need to create a whole ass new universe, and I just don't have the time for it.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. Yeah, you're like Stan Lee. You just like,
I think I'm more like no, you're probably right because I can't draw. I was gonna say I'm more like Jack Kirby, but Jack Kirby could draw. He draw like motherfucker.
Yeah, Jack
I
Kirby
cannot.
was just drawing, and then Stan Lee was like,
No. Do not propagate that lie, sir. Jack Kirby created most of the shit we love. Stan Lee was a literal idea guy. Was a literal idea guy. He would pitch some shit, and Jack would just make it real. And
Jack was a beast, man.
They played with that idea. I actually have them. They're down there on that shelf. I have the Marvel Vision like magazine from the 90s. They played with an idea of like being like, what if you were in the Marvel offices, there was no Spider-Man, and Marvel and Stan Lee walked in and said, boom, guy walks up walls, his name's his name's Spider-Man, fucking go. And they like all these various artists of the era came up with like fresh takes on these like Dr. Doom is one of my favorites. It's very steampunk, like super interesting.
Dang.
Yeah, so they came up with these like treatments of these characters, and I really really fucking love that. I kind of want to, it's a feature I kind of want to introduce into Catalyst for like indie characters. Like what if I came to you and said, like, give them the pitch for Deep Theory 1, right? Like, this is the pitch. what does it look like, and
Yeah.
just like make it happen. And because it's a very interesting concept, because like a lot of those stories were very much collaborations. I mean, like they Bob Kane is billed as
Mm.
the creator of Batman, but like Bill Finger made that character because Bob Kane's version had like a big red fucking cape, actually I think he had wings, and like did not have a cowl, had like a domino mask. So like Bob Kane's version of Batman is not the Batman that we know. Bill Fingers is. So it's like the shit that we attribute to a lot of people, especially historically, is very skewed, because it's like the people who stayed in, classic fucking history is written by the people who
Mhm.
stay in power, right? Like
Yeah. Yeah.
so much shit that we know is written the way it is because of who's in charge. There's
Yeah.
no
Yeah.
no way around that one. Like can't dance around that one. But it's like Jack Kirby came up with a lot of shit, but he didn't like the way he was treated. Like Jack Kirby was the first
Yeah.
version, like he was Image beta, like he was Image Comics beta, right? He
Yeah.
didn't like how he's being treated at Marvel. He's like, fuck it, I'm going to DC.
Yeah.
like that's what happened. And that's, then they like didn't learn from their fucking mistakes, and then we got Image. And to just tie it all together here, issue 10, which will feature some work from your book Sex Life: 0. I have I showed you the cover. You are the first besides the actual artist, you are the first person to see the cover. Officially
Oh,
did the
nice.
artwork.
Oh, yeah.
Issue 10 of I was say Wizard. Issue 10 of Catalyst is the cover is an homage to Wizard issue 10, which is a infamous fucking cover, because Wizard basically commissioned Rob Liefeld to do a cover. He did a piece with Cable and Shaft just because he loves those characters, and he made that piece. And he's the guy. Like I've said this many times, this isn't a new take or a hot take, I don't really think anymore. Rob Liefeld is the like middle-aged guy who's still living off his high school successes. Like he's still the guy talking about his high school football championship. He's the guy still trying to be
Oh,
hot off a character that he helped create in 1989. Like that's his relevancy is, I made this character that other people made interesting. Like
yeah.
like Deadpool was cool, but then Deadpool was really interesting and fun because of Joe Kelly. He wrote really interesting Deadpool. Like I
Yeah.
love Fabian, but like Fabian didn't make the best Cable. Other people made Cable interesting down the line. Like Fabian's dope. He's a dope writer, but I don't think his Cable was the best. Like, but that's also why he like kind of wrote him out of X-Force for a while. Regardless, but Rob Liefeld puts this cover together, Cable and Shaft. Wizards like, that's fucking dope. Go to print. Marvel shows up at their door. They're like, motherfuckers, you didn't ask. And they're like, what you mean? And they're like, look, the magazine's already out. We can't we can't unprint it. And we definitely can't afford to like do a recall and then print another like we just can't. It can't be done. It's in too many hands. Wizard was the hottest fucking thing at this time. Everyone bought a Wizard. Like there weren't extra copies on shelves at that time. You know what I'm saying? Like they
Yeah.
whatever they sold, that's what sold. So then Marvel was like, all right, well, from this day forth, you cannot reprint that image. That image can never be seen again, right? So for 15 fucking years or 10 years, they never printed that. Every time they do a retrospective, like here's the last whatever many covers, it would be a black rectangle. It'd be one
Oh,
through
wow.
nine, a black rectangle, and then 11 and on. So until I think issue 100, and then they did the like 100 issue cover poster. That was the first time since issue 10 that they had printed that image, because that was like 2002 or 3. Image was not really a thing like they worried about anymore. I think the movie, like the X-Men movies, had already kicked off. So like there was a
Yeah.
lot of things in play that Marvel was kind of like, whatever, we don't give a shit no more. Like Marvel, since then had already like gone through a bankruptcy filing, like many things had happened since then. Image was definitely not the powerhouse juggernaut threat that it was at the beginning of the 90s. So my thought, like I was trying to figure out, like this is the 10th issue, like I kind of want to make it special. And I'm like running it by my coworker who's a little bit of a nerd. And I was like, what do you think? He's like, well, you can like commission like an original piece of art or something. I was like, oh, I could do a cover. Because for the first issue, I commissioned a buddy of mine to do a cover for me of his character. I was like, what if I do an homage to this cover? And I
That's
find a
dope.
character with guns, and I find a character with a bow and arrow kind of thing. and make them the cover. And I was like, and my first thought immediately was Fishley, because Fishley, I've seen his work. He does really good, clean stuff. And I was like, Fishley's got to do the cover. I talked to him. He's like, yeah, for sure. Let me know. I could fit it in. You know, he's like, I'm busy, but I could probably fit it in. It's just, you know, it's a single image cover. It's pretty straightforward. I was like, cool. Hit up. So there was a book that came out a while back called the Indieversity Handbook or Guidebook, and it's like various multiverses, like the vast multiverse of indie comics, like all different characters, and everyone's like, kind of, this is the universe, this is kind of what's going on, with like a picture of the characters. So I'm going through this like 60 pages or some shit. I'm going through all these universes, many dozens of universes, and I'm like, all right, like guns. And I was like, wait, what if they're not men? What if they're not white? Like, let's just completely flip the script. This is indie. There's a much wider space of characters. Let's fucking shit. I find one character who's a woman, got 2 guns, which is like perfect. Cable's got 2 guns on the cover. I was like, this would be dope. I go to find the creator. He died last year from COVID.
Oh wow.
And I was like, oh
That's
shit.
crazy.
Like that sucks. Well, like that sucks in so many ways for, you know, for his whole family and everything. But I was like, damn, like that's a recent, I don't want to like try to reach out and like his wife or whoever is handling the stuff. Like I don't want to bother them. And I was like, fuck that. I'll find somebody else. And then I come across Taurus Comics, Ruby from the World of Oz.
Oh nice.
Young black woman, huge gun. I was like, that's Cable. That's Cable. She got little pouches. I was like, that's given very, very given Cable. I was like, all right, dope. And then I find another female character, bow and arrow. I think her name is literally the Arrow, which I thought was funny. I reach out and I was like, oh shit, it's a game company. So I was like, oh, well, let's expand. Like the magazine is an indie creator mag, not necessarily just an indie comics mag. So I'm like, this is an indie company that does, you know, tabletop RPG. Like, hey, I could do an interview with them, blah, blah. And I was like, hey, I'd love for permission to like use this on the cover. And then we could do an interview with you guys as well. Cause like, I'd love to kind of expand the field of who I'm interviewing.
Yeah.
And they're like, cool, we'll look into it. No response for like 2 weeks. And I was like, all right, they're busy or whatever. They don't like it, whatever. I don't really care what the reason is, but I'm like, we got to move forward. It's coming up. And I just go through and I'll try to find another one. And I found one that is, I don't know. I think he might be white. I don't know. Actually, probably answer that question because it's from the Powerverse. And it's because I ordered the it's called the Quiver Kid. This feels like a very white name. His name is Alexander Mercury. But that's the character right here. And his arrow, his bow and arrows are like energy based. And I was like, super cool. I didn't know anything about him, but like I find out he's a speedster and shit. It's like he's got a very interesting power set. Like I'm super interested to read about him. But I like bought the books digitally. I bought this thing visual because this is the shit. This is my shit. I love this shit. Like universe guides. I have so many. So it's like I picked those. And originally I was like, I kind of want to just pick 2 characters and like not ask permission, like recreate the entire scenario.
Yeah.
But I was like, nah. Let me like learn from history. Let me not, you know, like piss people off. So I like reached out and everybody was cool with it. So I really, really, really excited for everybody to see this cover. Like this man hits me with the blue line sketch at like 11:30 in the morning. He's like, is the layout good? I was like, layout's fire. Let's go. 2 hours later, hits me with the black outline, the inks. I was like, sick. And like before the end of the fucking day, like before the end of my work day, he messages me with the fucking final and he's like, sorry it took so long. I was like, bro, are you joking? Like it's like 8 hours, like less than 8 hours, like 6 hours.
Yeah.
Stop it, bro. Like, I don't want to hear none of this. That took too long. Like, what are you talking about? I thought it was gonna take 6 weeks, bro. Like, we talking about? Like, I would have given you 6
That's
weeks
awesome.
to produce this. This is sick. Like, stop it.
Dope.
So if people have not been subscribed yet, if people are listening to this and are not subscribed to thecatalyst.digital, they should be. They absolutely should be, because we have Sex Life Zero in there. We've previously featured Deep Theory. That shit is fire. That shit is fire. Zach, I really genuinely like I feel like it might sound like I'm blowing smoke, but I genuinely really enjoy your writing.
Thank you, man.
Can't wait to read the rest of this book. Do you have an ETA on when the rest of Sex Life Zero is going to be coming out?
So I do have issue 2 already written, and then I'm working on in sorry, issue 3. Well, they're it's an anthology. It's not going to be exactly in order, but I have another issue that I also have another artist that I really want to work with. Um, so I could put that in motion right now, but I'm just trying to keep control of my finances.
Understood.
Yeah, right now. But the other one I'm trying to finish and write. And then so once those go in motion, then I can finish writing the other issues. But I will say that the first issue of Sex Life Zero should come out in, I'd say uh, maybe like a month or something.
Okay.
But don't hold me on that because I haven't we haven't worked on the cover together yet, so still want to get that made. And but yeah, it's going to be a fun issue. It's very lighthearted, and yeah, I'm excited because yeah, Ska, his art is just like, oh man, it's amazing. Like
I don't understand that last part of his name. Like Alexander Bozic, like I understand his name, like, but that
yeah,
SKE, I don't understand. Is that just like his
yeah,
nickname or that's what he goes by?
I don't understand it either. But he does, that's like his signature. So
Yeah, yeah.
I just go with it, and
That's what
I'm
it
just
is.
like,
Yeah.
yeah, I'm like, thanks, Ska, and he's like, yeah, no problem.
Cool.
So, but yeah, he's a really cool guy, very easy to work with, and he's just super professional and just hits every mark on the expressions of each character. Yeah, the guy's amazing. But yeah, I'm super excited for it to come out. So greenpizzacomics.com or on Instagram, you can go look up Green Pizza Comics, Pizza Comics everywhere. Um, but yeah, I'm really excited, and thank you for your all your support, man. Just really appreciate you supporting all the indie artists out there and creators, because that, I mean, it's just a huge community that really I do feel like is undersupported um, in a lot of ways. So yeah, just you being out there and like reaching out to indie creators, it just makes people feel like, even if they're not in it 100%, it makes people feel like, special. And it's just really nice, man. Just really appreciate that.
Absolutely my pleasure, sir. I
Yeah.
cannot wait to read the rest of this issue, read more issues. It's like I said, slice of life. I think it doesn't even necessarily do it justice. I think even more than that. I think it's dope. It's got like a action adventure feel. It's reminding me of a lot of some like mid '90s like action like
Oh,
comedy films, like action comedy films. There was one that I think like no one's watched besides me, I swear.
yeah.
But I bring it up every once in a while. It's called oh my god, damn it, I forgot the name. But the kid, this like kid goes on a trip to France, gets mistaken identitied with a secret agent, and then has to just like
Go
bumble
with it.
bumble his way through secret agenting and
Oh
being
yeah.
a badass. Like it's
That's awesome.
damn, that's I wish I could remember the name of that. Damn. Anyway, but like, yeah, I can't wait to read more of it. Super excited to have you in the magazine again. Super excited to have you on. Love having a chat with you,
Thanks,
man.
man.
We had a long one, which is always great. Like I love we
Yeah.
you should absolutely come on my other podcast as well. We've been waiting, like we've been working on doing an episode about time travel. So like
Oh really?
you should absolutely come on that, and we should do a huge deep dive into time travel because we
Oh
want to steer away from pop culture gets us into too many arguments. So we want to start getting into some
yeah.
like deep, more like esoteric kind of things.
Yeah. That'd be cool, man. Yeah,
All right.
definitely.
All right, sir. Well, thank you for joining us. Thank you, everyone, for watching. Thank you for listening. Make sure you check out Green Pizza Comics. If you have not yet, make sure you follow Green Pizza Comics on Instagram and follow Green Pizza Comics on
On Facebook, or
what's it called?
there's also Buy Me a Coffee. Buy Me a Coffee / Green Pizza Q, and that's it. But Buy Me a Coffee, that's where I'll post most of the updates and behind the scenes and
I love the
and
behind the
other
scenes.
stuff.
The behind the scenes stuff, man. I absolutely, like I said, love that shit.
Oh, sweet.
That's my crack.
That's your jam.
That's my addiction, man. I
You're
love
correct.
process. I'm a process junkie, man. Really, truly a process
Nice.
junkie. Like I think you should put out a process sketchbook for every issue that you have, and
Oh,
and
yeah.
like use those funds to print the actual comic. That's my recommendation.
Oh, there's an idea. Yeah. I mean, I didn't think of that. That's cool. Right
Like
on.
the green pizza sketchbook
Yeah. That'll be dope.
series of sketchbooks. But yeah, that's gonna be it for this one. Thank you all for listening. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.
Before they go living, my vision is vivid. I wander the places they marvel. The shit that I'm talking is low-key a novel. Yeah, I'm so lit, but a lonely spark. About to end game like Tony Stark.